Well, it looks like a lot of people are not liking Robin Hood, but they're all liking Leviticus. So we're not really going to get into this with all these reviews because it's pretty much the same thing as the audio we've seen. So you see it says Holden Boy avoid this movie at all costs. Honestly, good start than just one bloodletting. Eyes being destroyed and Logan meets the bone. So there's not much of a review. Psychological pilots with emotion. But I do not go in thinking this is nice. Eventually. This is contemplated by the family. So I'm going to be involved in thoughts. So we're going to start doing this and be like, we should and get out of all this other stuff that's necessary. And we're going to start with Toy Story. We're going to start with the rating of Toy Story. I just refresh the page. I'm going to refresh it again. See that little school that everybody is so obsessed about.
It's directed by McKenna Harris and Andrew Stanton.
Get away, boss!
Sorry, didn't mean to do that. I believe I added his review to my collection save. Yeah, I did. So I'm going to go ahead and exit this. Let's start with Jeremy John. Skip it waiting if we can, folks. So looking at a 92 Top Critics score, 87 Top Critics, and Vinford Ice 95, 33 audiences, 4.7, 4.6 respectively. Without further ado, let's go into that.
Man, this movie's BS. Toy Story 5, all trying to make me cry in there. I mean, not that I cried, of course not. No, it's man tears. Totally different. In fact, it wasn't even man tears. It was allergy season. Going pretty strong there in the auditorium with Toy Story 5. So Toy Story 5 is the fifth Toy Story movie. You couldn't tell by the title. Which, of course, raises the question, did we really need this? So this continues the saga of Bonnie being the owner of the toys. The owner of the sentient beings. Would that be the term? She is the caretaker of the toys. However, there's a new player in town, digital technology. That would be the lily pad for this movie, which is like an iPad, but what you call a lily pad when there's a legal barrier keeping you from having an iPad in your movie. Toys feel threatened. Bonnie's social life is threatened. We have an adventure on our hands. An adventure that, yeah, I really liked it. What I like about this is this kind of does feel like it does have that remake-will energy here. The sequel that's pretty far into the franchise, pretty long after the first movie dropped. It's been about 30 years. Nope, I was wrong. 31. To be fair, that is still about 30, rounded down. Alright, after filming this, I'm gonna Instacart myself some tapioca pudding and a case of Ensure. That hurt. What I liked about it is it did have that original conflict of the original Toy Story, but in a new decade, a new generation, a new century, really. Instead of Andy's older toys feeling threatened by the new cool 90s action figure, it's all the toys, including but not limited to the cool 90s action figure, being threatened by the new cool thing, the lily pad. That's not just a toy, and Woody says that in the trailer. Toys are for play, but this thing is... it's everything. And it really does play that up. Yeah, there are games for kids to play, but it's a doorway into social. The new cool toy. And you all gush about the new cool toy together. That's how it was. Now, if Bonnie doesn't have this not iPad, she's not actually a part of the friend circle. And I like the lesson / cautionary tale there of, yeah, but the lesson of this movie must be how my parents felt when video game consoles popped on the scene. That feeling of, you're not playing with friends, you're on a thing, it's different. And it's a very relatable story. Okay, not gonna bury the lead. Let's just get it out there. You may have heard that Jessie is the main character in this movie, not Woody and Buzz, and that's totally true. But it does make sense for the movie and what it's going for. Also, it doesn't feel like a hit. Woody and Buzz were largely tied with Andy's story, and Andy's story is done. Yeah, we love them to be the leads, and they actually do have something to do in here, but it does feel like they are support. Toy Story 5 feels like it naturally, organically went where it made sense for the story. But the emotional moments they unpack with Jessie in this movie, dude, they hit. I like that Toy Story is apparently aged with its audience, but the kids don't get left behind. But as they've always told human stories, it's never been just about oh, toys, and that's nostalgic. That adds to the humor and the connection with the story, but Toy Story 5 is more about parents navigating their kids growing up in an interconnected social media digital age. But it's also a fun animated adventure with toys for your kids, you know? So everybody's having a good time here. As every Toy Story movie has new characters, there are some new characters that show up here from an earlier age of tech and toy integration for children. One of them's voiced by Conan O'Brien. I didn't know that until there's this imagination world that the toys are in. You know, when a kid's playing with toys, it kind of shows what the toys are to the kid. We all did that, man. We had our G.I.
So, got my thing right here. It is the AMC theater. What's up in the first week? Yeah. Open it. Plastic stuff like you, Jesse, Woody Pat, Woody. I can't remember what you did. The Jesse title seemed to have escaped. He's getting away. I don't have much room here. Up to the bottom, try. Wait. Oh, go away. That also does what? Came from the hidden. My opinion's so much effort. Not for sure. I can put something inside this.
Joe's fight Ninja Turtles. It wasn't always G.I. Joe versus Ninja Turtle. In fact, when I was a kid, true story, I had a cardboard box and a paper towel tube that I stuck to the cardboard box. Ninja Turtles had a sewer base to play in because we weren't rich and the official play set was too expensive. Do what you need to survive as a kid, man, with the power of imagination. Kind of went on a tangent there, but the Conan O'Brien character had his Conan O'Brien hair in the imagination sequences, and that's when it clicked. That's what Toy Story has never lost. It's never lost that awe and that power of imagination. It does feel more threatened in this movie, and that's a point of the movie. And that makes for some solid tension there. And it had a nice lesson about, you know, the quirky kid, that maybe the quirky kid, it's okay to be a quirky kid. I mean, that's always a win. I love that. Right on. There was a thing that took a little too long to land for, not land. It took a little too long to even see where it was going. There's a multitude of Buzz Lightyears out there on this quest, and I mean, it's the first thing you see in the movie. In fact, I thought it was a short film. I was like, oh, okay, it's the Pixar short film, because this clearly isn't Toy Story 5 yet. Are there Pixar short films beginning of... Does this still happen? No, it's a time-honored tradition. Now I can't think of it happening, but it was a critic screening. Maybe you'll get one. I didn't. But no, it's actually the movie doing its thing. And for so long, it would bounce back over to these Buzz Lightyears, and I was like, where are we going with this? And really, I'd never got an answer. I mean, it played out to be, okay, there are a bunch of MacGuffins that exist to get the job done at a point. And as it is Toy Story 5, Toy Story's been going on for a while, and every time Toy Story has a new chapter, there are new friends to pick up along the way. Friends that stay, but now they're just kind of background characters. Toy Story has had a lot of characters that have stuck around, but they feel like cameos. I like the fact that they do make the call to concentrate on the important ones for the sake of the plot that they're dealing with in the movie. I guess it's just an observation, but it is a noticeable thing. It feels like they've picked up these strays as the series has gone on. And now you'll just see a couple characters in the background. Maybe they have one line and that's it. But in the end, Toy Story 5, I thought it was great. I think it makes an argument for its own existence, the answer to the question, did we really need this? And yeah, it makes a strong case that we really did need this. More than Toy Story 4. I mean, I enjoyed 4, but 5 feels more relevant. And I like that it shows there's a place for tech even in a kid's life, but maybe in moderation. I mean, is that gonna stick? Probably not, but I like the fact that they're addressing that. I mean, how many times have authors, filmmakers, stories, movies, directors addressed a thing? Technological or social dynamic, let's pump the brakes or at the very least be more aware, and we're like, that's a really good movie. Oh, hey, that looks like a good idea. It's doing what that was a cautionary tale of. Beyond that, it's a fun adventure. Parents, kids, they'll both love it. Toy Story 1 through 3 being in the conversation of one of the best cinematic trilogies of all time, let's be honest. The real question is 5 better than 4? To me, yes, 5 is better than 4. The laughs were real, the heart was strong, or vice versa. This is worth watching and worth buying on Blu-ray. Maybe that'll be Toy Story 6. Retro gaming consoles become cool again and kind of usurp the lily pad. Can we get Mickey Rourke to voice a Sega Genesis or something? Kind of be. Alright, so Toy Story 5, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what are the greatest cinematic...
I got to show this. Buzz Lightyear. Oh, trading cards. They're doing trading cards now.
trilogies of all time. There's Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. I mean, you can pick the first 3 as a trilogy in a series of 5 or 6 or whatever. Whatever it is, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
What is happening, man? All right. Just got back from seeing Toy Story 5. You the guys that got me to watch all the Toy Stories, because around the time that they started, CGI was kind of in its infancy, and just getting going, you know what I mean? And they made a full-length movie, and, you know... And back then, I wasn't interested. I was kind of like how you guys are now with AI. Like, just certain things with CGI drove me nuts. And, okay. The wind is blowing. I've got the curtains open. And, yeah. So, just in case you hear anything, yeah, that's what it is, the wind. So, I do know that there was a little bit of controversy surrounding this movie about who it would be about and what was going on with that, especially with Disney doing this. People are concerned of whether it's going to be for the modern audience. They're worried about if it's going to be woke. Okay, so I'll tell you this. People were concerned it would be a Jessie-centric movie. It absolutely is her movie. It's Jesse's movie. So if you got a problem with that, there's that. All right. Now, there's a few things in there that I think that if you're used to reviewing movies and watching movies in this day and time, you're going to notice. It's not as heavy-handed as it was in other movies, but there's some light-handed stuff in here. And for my conspiracy theorists, there's this one scene, I think you all noticed it. I was like, whoa! Wow, right in my face, huh? Right there. Okay. So, let's see if any of you get it. I'll like your comment if you get what I'm talking about. One thing specifically for the conspiracy theorists. Now, the CGI animation and the voice acting was grade A. Of course it was great. Okay, they've been great throughout the Pixar movies, the Toy Story movies, you know what I'm saying? So, they have, I don't even know if they are Pixar. Are they Pixar? Or are they DreamWorks? So they're Pixar, right? Let me see. Toy Story is a Pixar movie, correct? Yes.
Toy Story is a Pixar movie.
Okay, so the story basically revolves around Jesse trying to help a little girl make friends. And the funny thing is that they do a really good job of showing what is happening to children and to adults and to teenagers with phones and tablets and the computers. And they don't play with their toys anymore. All they do is tap, 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 tap. That's a joke inside the movie. If you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So there you have this clash of kind of old-fashioned toys and even newer toys with the whole tablet. You know what I'm saying? So a new character enters, that's the tablet, and they're going back and forth with this thing. And it's really like this tug of war of old school toys and the new tech, the technology, you know what I'm saying, that's going on. So in between that and also trying to help her find friends, because there's a one line in the movie where they're like, because everybody's on a tablet, and they're like, well, how do they become friends if they don't look at each other? Because they're all sitting in the room, you know, around in a circle, you know what I'm saying? So, woo! There's some stuff in there where you're like, yeah, it's definitely, you know, dealing with what we're dealing with now. I kind of feel about this movie similarly to how I felt about The Mandalorian and Grogu. Like, I had a good time, but I feel like I can't give it a 3, which is above average entertainment. But it wasn't meh, which is 2.5. It wasn't okay. It wasn't all right, which is a 2.5 for me. It was somewhere in between that for me. Now, the theater was packed when I got there. I was surprised. But I normally go earlier in the day, so maybe that was why. But also, it's Toy Story, all right? Bunch of children in there. Bunch of parents in there. This one kid was running around the whole theater. I was just like, this is mayhem in here. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, so it was full. And the crowd clapped when it was over. People had a good time. So, for me, though, I'm going to give it a 2.75 out of 5. Woo! So, I'm assuming that if you are a big fan of Toy Story, you are going to probably thoroughly enjoy this. However, with a caveat, if you're a big Toy Story fan, but you're not a fan of certain things that are going on now with modern entertainment, you might have some big problems. Or some little problems. Or both. I don't know. But,
like, people really need to stop worrying about if something is a robot or killing a man type of stuff. Because that's not what this is. This is a fucking kids movie. Pardon my language. This is a kids movie. And I just looked at the movie called, like, if you want to get specific, you can look at the movie called The Quick and the Dead. This is a movie that came out in 1995. This was one of my mother's favorite films, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe, the guy from the Superman movies. What's his name? Gene Hackman. You know, because Gene Hackman was in Superman. He played Lex Luthor, and as well as Sharon Stone. You know, she was in that movie. She was the lead role. She played Ellen, Sharon Stone. She was the lead role. And this movie, The Quick and the Dead, was definitely Girl Boss. Because what happened was, Gene Hackman's character made Sharon's character, Ellen, killed her own father, shoot her own father, shoot him dead when she was a kid. Like, he puts his gun in my hands, and he's all tied up, I think like this, on a post. This is a Western, by the way. And she doesn't want to shoot him, but I think he's got another gun toward her head, so he forces her to shoot her own father. And she's vowed revenge. Right, my bad, I didn't even show that. She's vowed revenge because of that. And she, grew up as an outlaw or western or a cowboy, whatever you call it. Yeah, and we're not going to go into her stuff. This one was her early film, was 1995, so. Anyway, so that was what you would call a gore boss movie. But nobody ever said anything. If people watch that movie back then, because what I'm saying is, there are so many examples of gore boss movies. When they came out, it was a problem. So why is it such a problem now? Simply because they always compare it to Captain Marvel. They always compare it to even the likes of, I just thought of it, Madam Web. If you're going to make a movie called Madam Web, of course the female lead role is going to be a female lead role, and that's going to be Madam Web, because it's about Madam Web. You wouldn't call it Madam Web otherwise. Anyway, what I'm saying is people got to go with this wokeness, this so-called gore boss, this kind of thing. It's like they don't like women.
There it is for me. 2.75 out of 5. Let me know what you all thought in the comment section. And
I'm going to call them sheeple. Now there are so many there were so many examples of okay, I know what that. And beloved films. I'm putting parentheses. Underworld, 2002, I believe. Going all the way back to Marilyn Monroe. Now, they wasn't necessarily Don't Need No Man, but if you bought something like The Quick and the Dead, Who played by she wasn't necessarily looking for him in a relationship. I believe she died in What's a Crow's character. She definitely didn't get it in the Captain's character because he was young in the movie. His character dies and he's shot because he challenges Gene Hackman's character. Anyway, he was also a little boy, but Russell Crowe in particular, I think he played the love interest of Ellen. I forgot how it went. I think he even dies. But that was the problem back then. It was the problem for them to imitate that what men used to do. It was back then. It was like I think that was one of the few roles when you had a woman do that, where she would hold her man in her arms, just like the man would hold the woman in her arms. They thought probably, let's think of a scene where a man holds the woman in his arms, and that's reverse that. And of course, those would be what we preaching the message. And I think we can get back to that. We can make movies, we can make female lead role movies and get back to that where it's not preachy. And this is one of those movies. For Survive, the lead role is Jesse. But it's not preachy. It's the same thing with Supergirl. It's not preachy. Of course, you don't need a man because the first comic books written about the relationship. I think Clark Kent, and I say that because the Supergirl was going to come out this coming week, and people are talking about amongst other things. But I think when the first Superman novel came out, Lois was introduced in that. Sorry, not novel, comic book. Lois was introduced into that. In that comic book. Also, when Supergirl came out, they probably didn't have a love interest for her, because women didn't really have a love interest. They just had to build themselves up. They didn't have a love interest. I think she got introduced in Superman. Because typically the female roles, or the female counterparts of the males, they had to get introduced in their main series. Like, I think Spider-Woman had to be introduced, or Spider-Girl had to be introduced in Spider-Man's own series before she got her own series. It is before she got her own series. The Quick and the Dead, 1995, and of course, and Resident Evil. And I also love the 2002 Resident Evil. This, of course, with Mila Jovovich. Yeah, I'm just saying that people gotta get out of this wilderness, man. It's ridiculous. We have to move on. Check this out. I think this is safe. Yeah. Like, we gotta move on. We have to move on. We can't just keep being. I'm also trying to do the virtual machine on my computer. Use Active.
See you in the next video. 10 million subscribers. Woo!
Hello there, I would like to welcome you all to that part of the year where I get the I hate fun allegations, and honestly, I get it. I did not think I was going to be making this video. I promise you, I really didn't. And like most of my videos lately, I have no script, no outline, going off the dome, no face cam because my studio is not ready. Here we go. Let me start here. I think I am on the outside of this movie. Based off of the people I follow, they all seem to be very, very positive of it, and I'm okay with that. And I might talk more negatively than I actually feel, okay, because let me just start here. Toy Story 5 is fine. It's still a solid movie with a lot to like, okay? But here's the thing. When I see people say, oh man, but like the messaging is so good, and I'm like, I agree. Okay, like, yeah, guys, the messaging is great. Human beings do need connection. Technology certainly has taken away from that. Our attention spans is fading. And even still, Toy Story 5 manages to make this more of a nuanced conversation and talk about the good that tech has brought in our lives. And I obviously agree with that as someone who uses tech on a daily basis. But yes, human connection is important. Like, who's disagreeing with this? Here's my main point. That is not enough. I'm sorry, but the name Toy Story means something to me. You slap the name Toy Story on your movie, and it is not good enough to just be okay. You have to be great. And I know people have a lot of feelings on Toy Story 4. Okay, I'm a Toy Story 4 defender. So even if you disagree with that, that should let you know how I feel about this franchise. That even the movie that has like a 3.3 rating on Letterboxd, which is bananas, by the way, that movie, even I'm a defender of. So you know I am coming in this very, very positive and ready to like it. But to me, they did it. They made a mid Toy Story movie. I can't believe it. There are almost 3 distinct storylines in this movie before they all converge into one. Sometimes that can be done well, sometimes it doesn't. I gotta be honest, I really don't think it added much of anything. In fact, I think it hindered the movie. The best kind of movies you see where they start out with separate storylines before weaving together never feels clunky. They all have a natural flow with them, and typically the storylines are all pretty interesting. But in this movie, Toy Story 5, it does not do that at all. One storyline is like genuinely, who cares? When they chose to cut back and forth, did a disservice to the momentum that the story was building. Now, maybe they thought because this is the 5th Toy Story movie that, hey, we're all attached to most of the characters, like it's okay if we kind of go back and forth. But they introduced a lot of new characters here. It just never felt smooth. It never felt natural. It felt like a different series of cuts and breaks between different storylines or different, almost like YouTube videos. But those breaks never felt smooth. And I'm gonna say this here, okay? I don't care. I'm gonna say Woody should not be a supporting character in Toy Story movies, okay? I'm just gonna say it. Woody should not be a supporting character in Toy Story movies. And I swear, oh my god, if I see any comments about that turning it into some gender thing because Jesse's I'm gonna lose it. Okay, no. Woody as a supporting character does not work in Toy Story movies, okay? I would say the same thing if it was Rex was the main character, if Slink was the main character, just like I would say if Bo Peep or Jess. I mean, these are toys. What am I saying? Okay, it is actually way too early in the morning to be talking like this, all right? The Knicks just won the championship. I am so tired. Woody cannot be a supporting character in the Toy Story movie, okay? He legitimately has too much sauce, okay? Like, he has too much gravity, too much charisma. The whole time he wasn't on screen, not only myself, but I felt like other people in the room were almost just waiting for Woody to come back. And maybe I wouldn't feel this way if I thought that the Jesse storyline was handled better. And again, I feel I will definitely be on the other end of this. I feel like 85% of people are going to disagree with me. But the Jesse storyline, I just did not find as compelling as others did, I guess. Because as I'm seeing it, we're just really repeating storylines that we found in previous Toy Stories. This is the first Toy Story movie, and there are 5 of them, to really have me questioning how many times are we gonna do this abandonment trope? Like, I understand. I understand, okay? I have shed tears over these over these characters for so long, okay? I get it. They do not want to be abandoned. They want to be played with. They are there to make a child happy, okay? It's the most beautiful thing ever. Toy Story is still one of the best franchises ever. But how many times am I gonna have to go through this here? We went through it with Andy, okay? Like, we're going through it with Bonnie. We've had flashbacks of Emily with Jesse's characters. Like, I get it, man. Like, we're just gonna repeat this, and maybe I really am just a cold-hearted bastard, but I went to the movie with my wife, and I know no one else will know this, but my wife cries at every single movie. She is moved by everything. She cried at the Boogeyman, okay? No, that is not a joke. And while this movie did get her, and certainly has a profound moment that I will speak to in a second, she walked out of this movie and she was like, oh man, like, that was okay. she said it was mid. And I was like, wow, I thought I was gonna be the asshole on the way home. Everyone has trauma in these movies, which I totally get, but again, when it's just recycled with abandonment, I don't know why this one felt the most like, okay, I've seen this already. Now, there is a very profound moment in this movie that really struck me deep, and I thought they were going to spend a little bit more time with it, and they immediately moved on, and I was like, damn, like that was it. That's when I felt this movie was locked in to what I was feeling. And surprisingly, it's not even about technology, and I promise I'm not going to spoil it, okay? But there's a moment where Jessie realizes what she has meant to her owners, and she comes to a realization that changes her mindset about abandonment in the first place. And that was the first time during this movie that I really felt surprised, that I really felt like, oh wow, I did not expect them to address that or look at it that way. That is beautiful. And from that stretch to, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 minutes later was the first time I was like, okay, this is the Toy Story franchise that is giving me this feeling that I know and love. Because even though I've been on the record as saying I think this Toy Story 5 storyline, just in terms of the synopsis, is excellent, I love that, addressing iPad kids and everything like that versus imagination and connection, even though I love that they chose to do that, I feel like I kind of knew what they were going to do with that. But Jessie's character arc was one that caught me off guard and really moved me, and that is why people go to this movie. So look, this movie still has a lot of fun moments, okay? It's pretty funny. I still love the dynamic between Woody and Buzz. I wish I got more. It talks about its themes in pretty interesting ways and nuanced ways. And truthfully, most people are gonna like it, and I don't expect a lot of people to agree with me here. But even though I want to reiterate, I do not think this is a bad movie. I think it is perfectly solid. That's just not enough to me. And honestly, I walked away from this movie pretty disappointed. Toy Story 5? 3 stars. Yeah, I'm on my 3-star grind, I guess. I need something to really knock me off my ass here. I don't know what that's going to be, but I need it to happen fast. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe. Okay, bye.
Remember what it was like to be a child and have an imagination, play with toys, go on misadventures? I know I don't, because I'm a sad, miserable adult. Although I do have toys and shenanigans behind me, maybe I could play with them and feel like a kid again. I won't though. Instead, I'm gonna go out and watch a Toy Story movie whenever Pixar drops one. And as luck would have it, they got Toy Story 5 coming out shortly. I'm special, so I was given early access. I took my wife and son to it, and we had ourselves quite a lovely time. But did we have a wonderful time because the movie was so horrifically bad, we had fun laughing at it together? Or was it a nice little afternoon out with fellow critics and their families? Well, I'm going to tell you right now in a spoiler-free review. Let's begin. Before I get into it, if you've been searching out, yearning for a movie critic that always gives 100% honest thoughts and reactions, and you know you can trust the guy, I'm talking about myself right now, because not only is he passionate about the film industry, but he's also wearing a t-shirt about the movie he's talking about, so you know he's legit. I bought this at a Disney store several years ago. Subscribe. Actually, maybe that puts me at odds with the review. If I can be bought and paid for by buying and paying for a t-shirt to a franchise I happen to enjoy, who's to say whether or not I can be trusted? Well, let me give you a lay of the land with Toy Story.
You're still an asshole.
I saw the first one in theaters when I was like a teenager. Insane to think it's been that long. I'm young. I'm definitely in my 30s. I thought this franchise peaked at number 2, but I've actually enjoyed all of them. 3 was a great send-off for our characters, mainly for their original owner, Andy. Now we're in our Bonnie era. She's the new owner of these toys. She was gifted the toys from Andy while he went off to college to start banging hood rats and getting an education. If you're a child watching this, where are your parents? I will try to keep this review PG-13. I apologize for the previous banging hood rats comment, but that is the entire point of the 5th film. Kids are growing up way too fast, and it's because of their access to the digital world. Tablets, phones, computers, Kindles. Andy, while he went off Crannies. Crannies was a lesser popular version of the Nook. You might not have heard of it. It was off market. And here's a fun little ditty about this 5th film. It's the first one to focus on a child. That was probably the wrong expression to use here. As our little 9-year-old, 10-year-old? I don't. She's young. Bonnie's very young in this, but she's growing up too fast.
So, a bit of housekeeping. It's that time once again as some
in there.
Man, this movie's BS. Toys.
What?
Wisdom!
Hello there. I would like to
got her Remember a lily pad, which is a tablet giving her access to all sorts of wonders. Gamification, a friends group, the ability to chat and send emojis and photos. Big mistake. And so for the first time in the franchise, we are going to spend time with Bonnie and seeing how she reacts to this change. Strange things are happening to her. The reason for this situation to begin with is every kid that she's come across now acts better than her when she attempts to invite them over for a play date. They don't want to play with toys. Lame. Yuck. We want to cyberbully. We want to play tag on our tablets, not in real life. Yuck! Did I mention the cyberbullying? That's really what we're all about here. Toy Story 3 had a few scenes with Andy and how he was coming to terms with the fact that he is growing up and had to get rid of the toys, but the story here is very focused on Bonnie this time, and in tandem with that storyline, we have Cowgirl Jessie tips the hat for the new leader of the toy group. Woody's gone. He's on his misadventures with Bo Peep. That puts Sheriff Jesse in charge of these parts. Buzz plays second fiddle. He's her second in command. He's also a major simp for this chick. He wants to put a ring on her finger. This is something that's been teased in previous films. It's really coming to a head here, though. That's his basic arc, is he really likes Jessie. He wants to be able to tell her how much he respects and appreciates her. Kind of one of these will they, won't they, Sam and Diane situations. Wait, what is something that kids would relate to there? Not Sam and Diane from Cheers, which came out like a million years ago. Really one of those Sam and Kate situations. That was a show, right? With Ariana Grande and I don't know. I remember my daughter liked it though, but they are both girls. Well, that can still work. This is 2026. And since this is 2026 and this is Pixar Disney, some parents out there that like to clutch their pearls may be concerned that there's going to be like a trans toy in this one or some gay scene in the background. You do not need to worry, Karen. The toys are all straight as fuck. I shouldn't have swore. This is the thing I was talking about. Listen, no. You know what? No. Fuck that. This is Adam Does Movies. It's not my fault if the algorithm brought your little kid to this review, okay? That's on you. Unless you're one of my friends or relatives watching this with one of your kids, and I apologize. We can talk about it in person later. But Bonnie's parents, bless their farts, are trying to make their daughter happy. And the only way that seems to work is to get her addicted to her lily pad. So they just let her have that thing 24/7. I mean, they act like there's screen time, but there's not screen time. She is glued to this thing. It's an obsession for her, by Calvin Klein. And this is a narrative that they could have taken even further. Pixar could have a field day with this whole thing about how people are absolutely glued to their phones and their devices, and they're living their lives online in this fake fantasy world, and they're not looking at what's right in front of them, which in the case for Bonnie is her precious toys. And so once again, Jessie's feeling that cold, burning sensation of rejection. Could also be the gonorrhea, but I don't know. We're not going to get into the personal stuff. Jessie is on a mission, and her mission is to get Bonnie together with some friends however she can. While the Bonnie and Jessie thing is going on, there's also a Trace storyline going on that we're going to jump back and forth to here and there, which is the Buzz Lightyears. We got to have a bunch of Buzz Lightyears. That's like the thing we do in these films. This time we're focused on 50 or so of them who are stranded out at sea on an island. They're a brand new model of the toy. They know nothing about kids or that they're supposed to play with them and whatnot. They believe their mission is to get to Star Command. So we will comically go back to their storyline throughout the film. These are the best sections. They're just a good old time. These scenes are made even better because the score is so great. It's playful. It's different from what we usually get in Toy Story. I was 1000% confident Danny Elfman had joined the crew and he was doing the score. It had a very Beetlejuice-esque sound to it. Is Danny Elfman still alive? Think he is. I hope he is. The man's a legend. Anyway, Randy Newman, I guess, was doing it. And don't be confused. Don't be tricked by the media telling you Taylor Swift has this brand new amazing song. First off, the song is mid at best. Her music has gone downhill, okay? Don't come at me, Swifties. It's true. And that original song she crafted for the film, you get to hear it in the end credits. It doesn't even get a scene in the movie. In fact, there are no vocal stylings at all in this one, which is a departure from some of the earlier films. We do not hear Randy Newman's soft, sultry voice taking us home, telling us about friends and each other, and riding people like the wind, and whatever other weird kinks these toys are into. Let's talk about the toys for a little bit. All the majors are returning. Tom Hanks is back as Woody. He still sounds fantastic. We have Tim Allen as Buzz. Tapered down a bit in this one. I don't know if it's an age thing or if they're just subduing him a bit more. Then we have Joan Cusack reprising her role as Jessie, getting much more time in the spotlight here. Joan Cusack, out of all the voice actors, sounds noticeably older. This Jessie is not near as vivacious as she used to be. And to be fair, that's written into the script. The whole Roundup gang is referred to as being old and tired constantly throughout this thing. Woody, at one point, his gut starts to come out because of the stuffing. He's got a bald spot on his head. He's really let himself go. Greta Lee lends her voice to Lilypad in this. I couldn't place the voice when I was hearing Lilypad. It came off as kind of a Mindy Kaling sort of character, but I knew it wasn't her. It was just close to her. She's fine. She's solid. Conan O'Brien, also in this one. He plays a retro digital device known as Smarty Pants. I believe that's the character whose entire personality are poop puns. Normally I would scoff and turn up my nose at such foul play, but in this film, I actually thought all those jokes landed pretty well. I give it a number 2 thumb emojis way up. And I give this movie 2 thumbs up. The problem with the last film, which I still found enjoyment out of, I'm a sucker for these Pixar Toy Story movies, I think they work pretty well, is that there just was nothing really relatable for the audience. In the old films, it was all about the imagination, the fun of playing with your toys. What would happen if you were out of the room? Would they come to life and do their own thing? The second movie expands on that idea. It fleshes out these characters, really makes them a whole, and then by the third movie, it's all about letting go. It's about growing up, saying goodbye to the past.
I gotta rewatch it, honestly. I should watch it. Oh.
And to your childhood. The fourth movie, it's about the toys breaking free from their owners and finding a purpose. Not really relatable. 5 brings it back around. We are now living in a very different world where a lot of kids are growing up without toys in their hands. They don't have that imagination. They are on devices at a much smaller age, and they're growing up much faster because of everything they're seeing, and the parents are MIA most of the time. There are parts in this movie that I've dealt with in my own life with my wife and kids. When do we get our kids' phones? When can they get on tablets? When should they be able to text their friends? There were a couple years, much like Bonnie, where my kids were the outcasts because they were not on that crap. We wouldn't let them. And it was sad to see because my kids could hold conversations. They looked their peers in the eyes. They would try to chat, play some Monopoly, invite them over to play video games, to watch a movie. And there was rarely a full 20 minutes that would go by when they were doing an activity where those kids weren't looking on their phones. It was sad to see. Pixar does a very good job showcasing this, almost arguably too good of a job, because it was sad. Like, the movie wasn't even trying to be sad in the parts that I was feeling sad, because I just have seen this play out and it's miserable. And it's not even a kid thing, it's a human thing now. But there are also many moments where the movie's attempting to pull at your heartstrings. I think it works here and there. If I'm gonna nitpick it all, it's gonna be that they go a little too far into some of the melodrama, really trying to pull you in and try to get some of those tears from you. No, the toys aren't gonna be thrown into a wood chipper in this one or anything, but there are many moments with Jessie where the sad music plays, she feels bad about her past, she feels bad about Bonnie, And I'm like, okay, this movie feels like it's almost 2 hours, but I'm pretty sure it's only 90 minutes. So there is a little bit of a pacing slowdown that could have been avoided had they just cut some of that stuff out. It still would have been very effective. But there's a lot of laughs in this one. There's some great commentary going on. It feels justified again. Like the last Bonnie movie seemed like a cash grab. This one seems legit, like it should exist. And there's a message that needs to be stated here. I still think the original three are the strongest. I would place this confidently as number 4 on that list, with the last movie being the worst. This is a very nice entry, though. And the bottom line for a lot of parents is going to be, Adam, am I going to be able to sit through this thing without wanting to choke myself out by the end? Yes. There was a lot of kids in the theater with me. They were all pretty damn well behaved, which was great. And there wasn't a ton of running up and down the aisles, kicking feet, smashing into each other, that sort of thing. The kids were focused on the movie, even when it slows down here and there, which is a testament to a good story. And I think that's probably good enough for a Toy Story 5 review. Like, you're going to this no matter what. You don't need to hear from me. But at least rest assured, it's a solid time. Let me know if you saw it already at an early screener, or if you're excited now to check it out. Please think of liking and subscribing to the show Adam Does Movies. I post tons of movie content every week, almost daily at this point. It's unheard of. And I would appreciate it if you stuck around. All right, that's all I got for you.
Bye.
Toy Story 5 is here. I'm going to review it. I haven't seen 3 and 4. But anyway, let's have fun. Toy Story 5 stars Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, Conan O'Brien, and is directed by McKenna Harris and Andrew Stanton.
Get away, Buzz!
Our mission on this planet is to make a child happy.
You just remember what your past is.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2026 review. We are going to review the brand new Toy Story movie. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't planning on reviewing this movie because a couple reasons. I hadn't seen 3 and 4. I know that's crazy. I was deployed for 3, but I heard it was like amazing. And then 4, I don't know where the hell I was. I don't know what happened with 4. But yeah, but I will say I do love the first 2 movies. I remember when both those movies came out, I saw both of those, I believe, in the theater. I know I saw the second one in the theater. I'm pretty sure I saw the first in the theater. And I just remember loving those. I was so impressed by Pixar animation and what they were able to pull off. And, tech aside, which is funny because that's part of the story of this movie, but they were able to tell a compelling and heartfelt story that's highly relatable because we were all kids once and we all loved toys. And what if we tell the story from a toy's point of view? Because let's face it, all toys have shelf lives. And so just to get into the mind of a toy and what is a toy's thoughts, like I was really into He-Man. And we talked about this when I just did my He-Man review. That was my world when I was a kid. I loved He-Man. I would take all those figures. I would make them fight with each other. I loved Star Wars. I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater. And after that, I had to get, Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca and especially Darth Vader. And I had, the case with all the toys and everything. So I think, that's why adults love these movies as well, because we were all once kids. And I will say right now, my granddaughter Delilah loves these Toy Story movies. She watches all of them, I think, and she always just has a blast with them. And it was kind of a treat because we got to go with my son-in-law's parents, which is really cool. They're just the nicest people. So a big hello to Kelly and Jeff. They were nice enough to actually pay for our tickets. Oh my God. How nice is that? That was really nice. It was a treat. I happen to be on call this week. I'm not going to talk too long. We'll get into the story, but I have people. They get mad at me when I don't get to the point. So I kind of like not getting to the point because you can literally hit the fast forward button. You can move the toggle to where the but I'll make it short. I was on call, and I thought we weren't even going to be able to make the showing, but we got there late.
You should create a link that gets right into the review. Like make a link.
but we missed like I think maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the movie. And I hate going into a super dark theater when you got your snacks and you're trying to get everything handed and you're scared that you're gonna sit in somebody's lap. It was like that, people. I did get a couple of work calls during the movie, so I did have to get up and walk out of the theater. I did get to see, like I'd say, a good 80% of the movie. Okay, and I did see the last act of the movie as well. So I think I can qualify enough to give you at least a decent review of the movie. And I will say I did have fun, but more importantly, Delilah had a lot of fun. Again, she loves these Toy Story movies, so mission accomplished on that front. Having said that, I do have some thoughts in my best Austin Powers impersonation. I'm not gonna give you like a detailed plot synopsis on this, but what this one really revolves around is tech. And we got the iPads these days, we got the phones. Kids are really, did they cover this stuff in 4? I would think so, but yeah, kids are so into their gadgets these days. And even in Lila, she likes to watch Paw Patrol and all that stuff. And so it was just a matter of time before they made a Toy Story movie that kind of pits tech against traditional toys. And what a fun premise to do, And I do think this movie sends it home in terms of, setting a good message and maybe a way to combine the two and still making like a healthy environment for the children. But the main kid here is Bonnie, and she has her toys. I believe she has Jessie as a toy, but then all of a sudden Lily Pad comes along, this sort of like iPad type gadget, and then all the toys, they get a little nervous about what's going on. They get really scared, and they think that's it. It's over, okay? Because you're not pulling these kids away from these gadgets. And then you got Woody and Buzz Lightyear that kind of come into the fold and help out with this. And so, there's always these really fun action set pieces in these Toy Story movies. And there's always some jokes at Woody and Buzz's expense, especially Woody because, he's getting older now. They got the little bald spot. They got to make fun of that, which is funny. And as far as Buzz actually has like a whole army behind him in this movie. And there's a section in the movie where they all ride in on horses because there's another character named Blaze who actually has like a horse collection. She lives on like a ranch. And Blaze was a really fun character. I actually enjoyed all the human characters in this movie. And Jessie, I think, takes more center stage in this movie than Woody and Buzz, which I don't really have a problem with that at all, actually. I think as long as these stories are fun, and why not give some other characters a spotlight, because there's stories that can be told around those characters. And I love Jessie as a character. My daughter's name is Jessie. Jessie, I think, was a pivotal character in the second movie. Again, I haven't seen the third and the fourth. You guys will let me know in the comments. And as far as like pulling the heartstrings, I think Jessie takes the reins here. And there is a very emotional scene, a very heartfelt scene under a tree where she digs up this like lunchbox. And I'm not going to spoil what that scene entails, but I think that was kind of like the tearjerk moment in these movies. So yeah, I think that's about it for the good. I do like all the characters, and that's a really important thing to like in these movies, okay? I liked all the toys. I think the lily pad was handled very well. That was a fun little thing. And overall, before I get into my gripe of this movie, I'd still give this a passing rating for sure. Is it the best animated movie I've seen this year? I haven't seen too many of them, but I will say Hoppers was better than this. I really, really enjoyed Hoppers. If you guys haven't seen Hoppers, definitely check that one out. This does feel a little bit unnecessary, but this movie made $160 million at the box office this weekend, so I think that makes it very necessary, budgetary-wise, monetary-wise. And I believe this is the highest opening weekend for any Toy Story movie. So expect 3 more Toy Story movies, okay? Now, let me get into my gripe of this movie. And I think a lot of you might know where I'm going with this if you've seen this movie. Let's talk about character assassination, okay? And before I get into this, some of you that might be new to my channel, immediately you're going, oh, that's a red flag. He's probably one of those channels. I'm not, okay? I literally just reviewed Leviticus, which the main characters of that movie are gay characters. It's one of the best movies of the year. I freaking loved Leviticus. I thought it was so well done. It's very dark. It's a nice combination.
That's what I like about Valentine's. for the most part, objective in his movie. He really does, and I'm making sure I'm speaking to my mic here, he really does review them fairly instead of just being all, oh, it's a gay film, I don't watch it, because, the gay film, of course, you're going to have expressions of love, but when they call it gay film, he gives it a chance. Dum-dums, he gives it a chance.
Of, like, say, obsession with It Follows, and the characters were very compelling. There was no character assassination of these characters whatsoever. That's what they were. They were two gay guys, which I think is awesome. It made for an interesting story. I actually like some queer horror movies. I think, there's a lot of effective ones out there. And also, this was an Australian horror movie, which I'm always a big fan of Australian horror. So check out that review if you haven't seen it. But just wanted to set the table for who I am. I'm not one of these channels that you're going to see me doing 10 videos about how much I hate Supergirl, okay?
Like the Critical Tranquil and No Erotic. So, and even Film Thread, they have so many videos dedicated to how much they hate Supergirl. Let's hear him say it again.
That you're going to see me doing 10 videos about how much I hate Supergirl, okay? I'm not one of those channels. I have to stress that, all right? I'm going to go into Supergirl, and I'm going to give it a fair shot. And if I like the movie, I'm going to come out and tell you I really liked it. But Buzz freaking Lightyear, this, for me, was a character assassination because in the first two movies, haven't seen the next two after that, so maybe there's some context there that I'm missing, that maybe there was a lead up to this, but Buzz Lightyear really takes a backseat in this movie. And I'm not talking about screen time. I think he was on the screen enough in the movie. I have no problem with Jesse being the main character. And I have no problem with, quick little slight jokes here and there that might emasculate a male character that has been built up to be sort of a masculine type character. That's what Buzz was in the first two movies. So for some reason, in the last act of this movie, and you know what? I'm going to give you, this might be a little spoiler warning, but it's not like the big reveal at the end of the movie, okay? But just in case you don't want to know, a little spoiler warning here, okay? There's a moment where Buzz kisses Jesse, which was really funny, actually, and I liked the moment. But then Buzz kicks his leg up. I giggled. I was like, oh, okay, that's cute, all right? They're playing a little bit with the genders. That's fine. Then they did it again and again and again. And then there's a wedding where Buzz is the bride. And he literally has a skirt on. And
everything you just mentioned, I did feel kind of like they were going woke. I felt like they were reversing the roles because I was like, okay, I know they're getting married, but Buzz Lightyear should not be. So people have already seen it, so I don't care what's wrong with it. Buzz Lightyear should not be brought to her. She should be brought to him. And this movie was supposed 2 days ago. They should not have done that. They really should not have done that. I didn't like how he was a little bit too simpy. So I can understand that part.
And he's walking down the aisle, and Jesse is almost like the groom waiting for Buzz to walk up the aisle. Buzz rides in on like a rainbow pony in this movie. And again, if that was like one joke, that's fine. That's funny. And I can already see the comments right now. But you know what? It's just an observation. All right? I still like the movie. But why assassinate a character? Why change a character up? If Buzz started out as that type of character in Toy Story 1, then we're fine. No problem whatsoever. Okay? And I'll even say this. I'm friends with so many different YouTube creators from all walks of life. They would probably vouch for me. And I'm very open-minded about things. This is about characters, okay? This isn't about a way of life that I don't like. You could have a movie that has gay characters in it, and as long as you don't assassinate the character, as long as the character wasn't one way, and then all of a sudden we're making fun of him by emasculating him, then I think that's kind of a low blow to the character, okay? Because then where do you go from here, right? Because pretty much Buzz is Jesse's bitch in this movie at the end of the movie. If any kids are watching this, I apologize, all right? I used a bad word. That's the only thing that kind of annoyed me about the movie, all right? And I got Delilah watching the movie. Buzz Lightyear is her favorite. She loves Buzz Lightyear to death. And so I just don't want Delilah to be confused about, wait, Buzz has always been this way in all these other movies that I've watched. Why is he all of a sudden this way? Is it a big deal? No, it's not a big deal, okay? But I just felt like it was a little weird to I guess go that hard in the paint, so to speak. And you know what? I like having conversations with you guys in the comments, all right? So if you disagree with me, if you think I'm way out of line here, let me know down in the comments. I would love to discuss this with you guys. But this was something that was kind of like, I walked out of the movie having a good time, and then all of a sudden it just like kind of hit me. I was like, it's kind of weird, And so I think that's why I'm here talking about it now, because I love characters, and I think you have to respect characters. And when you take a character and you're trying to remold an established character for a present agenda, or
he let the film process. He didn't post an immediate reaction, even so much as an out of theater reaction. He let it process. He let it marinate for a few days before he made a review.
A present lifestyle. Take another character and do that. That's fine, but I don't think that's fair to do that to Buzz Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear is a cherished character, and there's so many kids and adults that love that character. He's probably the highest selling character as far as the Toy Story franchise goes. Okay, I like Buzz Lightyear. I think he's a cool character. So yeah. Now, I haven't seen the live-action Buzz Lightyear movie. I have heard that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen the movie, like I said, but maybe is he gay in the movie? And if he is, that's fine. But why has that, I don't know. Why has that not been established? It's weird. It's weird. So I can already see the comments. Jesus, I got myself in trouble. I'm going to publish it. I don't care. All right. Still had fun with the movie. I'll give it a humdrum. All right. Straight up humdrum. What did you think of Toy Story 5 in the comments? Let me know. Really curious to hear your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe to Drum Dums X. We're going to be recording another Hulk review today for the episode where he's in Las Vegas in season 1. So I'm going to be recording that today. Be sure to come over to Kill Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do a few of our Fridays. Follow my Drum Dums and on my socials, bro, my Patreon. Become a channel member, buy me coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Every day, Drum Dum out.
Toy Story 5 should feel like a cash grab. It's the 5th film in a franchise that's already had 2 endings. But last week, Pixar dropped a 1-minute preview clip online that looks incredible. And Taylor Swift showed up to the premiere with her childhood VHS tape and asked the cast to sign it. And suddenly, I started feeling like this movie might actually work. I'm Matt Johnston, and this is your weekly movie reset. Premiere with her childhood VHS tape and asked the cast to sign it. And suddenly, I started feeling like this movie might actually work. I'm Matt Johnston, and this is your weekly movie reset. Everything you need to know about the movies in 15 minutes or less. If that sounds useful, hit subscribe, and I promise I'll respect your time. We've got a full box office from last weekend to go through, Masters of the Universe is in some serious trouble, and Scary Movie kind of imploded. Not to mention Hollywood's biggest merger just got approved by the DOJ. Let's get into it. So the question I keep going back to with Toy Story 5, I've been really DOJ. Let's get into it. So the question I keep going back to with Toy Story 5, I've been really excited about it, is this just another cash grab from a studio that's kind of had a rough few years, or is there something more here? Does this 30-year-old kids franchise have something left to say? Pixar used to be automatic. A new movie meant a new hit, and it definitely wasn't something you wanted to miss out on. Toy Story, A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, I could go on. Talk about a generational run. For more than a decade, Pixar couldn't miss. But recently, it's been no secret that Pixar's been struggling by their standards. Soul, Luca, Turning Red, all solid enough movies went straight to Disney+. Lightyear flopped. So when Disney announced Toy Story 5 all the way back in 2023, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried. But then I found out the director is Andrew Stanton, who's been with Pixar since the very beginning and worked on all the Toy Story films. Not to mention, he directed bangers like Finding Nemo and WALL-E. And then there's this clip of Tim Allen on The Tonight Show in 2023.
No. And according to the scuttlebutt, the writer that's doing it wrote one of the better ones. And he said, if I didn't get this right, I wouldn't do it. So it could be a very, very interesting way to reunite it.
I would love to see it.
That sounds promising. And more recently, when Stanton himself was asked why this movie needed to exist, he had an answer that kind of surprised me. The movie's not even really about a battle so much as a realization of an existential problem, that nobody's playing with toys anymore. Technology has changed everybody's lives, but we're asking what that means for us and to our kids. We can't just get away with making tech the villain. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like cash grab talk to me. That sounds like a filmmaker who has a story to tell. I've got my tickets for Thursday and my inner child couldn't be more excited. What do you guys think though? Do we need a 5th Toy Story film? Are you gonna see it? Let's get to this week's box office result. Biggest winner of the weekend is Disclosure Day, not surprising. It opened to $44 million. I was hoping it would get a little closer to 50, especially with that $115 million budget. I saw the movie, I enjoyed it, I had a fun time with it. I have a short giving more detailed thoughts about it, but I'm gonna keep it quick for this show today. Go see it if you like Spielberg and sci-fi, that's all I'm gonna say. Another fun story that I saw was that Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell and Dakota Fanning went to see it. I just saw this picture on Instagram, thought it was really funny. Love the Steven Spielberg popcorn bucket. I need to figure out how I can get one of those. Biggest surprise is Obsession. Well, maybe it's not that big a surprise at this point. 19 million in its 5th weekend, only down 25% is crazy. I haven't made it to see it yet. I'm sorry, I'm going to. I've seen 2 movies the last 2 weekends and I just haven't gotten to Obsession yet. So I will, but wow, yet again, number 2 spot being held by Obsession. Biggest concerns gotta be Masters of the Universe, down 70% to under $9 million on the weekend with a budget that is reportedly could be up to $200 million. That is very difficult to come back from, so not looking good for Masters of the Universe. Now, the reason I didn't put Scary Movie, which had a 74% drop as my biggest concern, is because it made $55 million last week and its budget's only $30 million compared to Masters of the Universe. I also want to mention Michael this week as a sleeper just because it is now the most successful musical biopic ever at $932 million worldwide, which is absolutely incredible. Really happy that film is great. If you haven't seen it, go see it before it leaves theaters. And here's the full top 10 in order. One stat worth mentioning, this is the first May since COVID that we've topped $1 billion domestically at the box office. So that's definitely great to see. And also, it's the first time that a box office has hit $1 billion in the month of May without a Marvel movie carrying it. I just think this goes to show that the trend of people showing up for different things besides franchises and recognizable IP is continuing. People are being a little more selective with how they spend their money. And I actually think that's ultimately going to be good for the industry and for storytelling. And while people are being more picky about how they spend their money, Hollywood's making big moves too. The Paramount and WB merger just got approved. The DOJ cleared Paramount Skydance's $111 billion acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery. That combines Paramount, CBS, Paramount Plus, and Nickelodeon with Warner Bros., HBO Max, CNN, and the DC Universe. According to Variety, the Department of Justice has completed its analysis of the proposed merger of Paramount and Warner Bros. And determined based on the evidence received in its investigation that the transaction is not likely to result in harm to competition or American consumers. Paramount CEO David Ellison says he expects to close by September. We'll see if that happens. What do you guys think? Do you think this is good for the industry? Bad? I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Moving on to our second story. This one's a little less boring. The Batman 2 has finally started filming. Matt Reeves posted the slate on his Instagram, officially announcing that principal photography has begun. Robert Pattinson's back, Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell. And there's new cast members like Sebastian Stan, Scarlett Johansson, Charles Dance. The release date is set for October 1st, 2027. I absolutely loved The Batman, but I've been so sad that we have to wait so long for the second one. I mean, 5 years, it's kind of crazy. But anyway, you guys have any early thoughts? Do you like the cast additions? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. For our trailer this week, we've got The Death of Robin Hood. This is a film from A24 starring Hugh Jackman and Jodie Comer, and I believe it's like a dark revisionist kind of take on Robin Hood. Here we go. Oh wow, you can hardly even recognize Hugh Jackman. And A24 is killing it lately. Oh man. Loving the vibe so far. Just super gritty. This is going to be great counter programming against Toy Story 5 this weekend. Oh, it looks beautiful. Cinematography looks awesome. Director of Pig and honestly anything. He's so. Seems like this is also gonna piques my interest. If it's a different story, always for. And he does not. Okay, I'm interested. And the big one is Toy Story 5. Obviously, we don't got to go through all that again. But I do want to mention that it's projecting to open anywhere from 150, 170 million. That would absolutely make it the biggest opening of the summer so far. It might be one of the biggest movies of the year until Avengers Doomsday comes along in the winter. But this one follows Jessie, and Joan Cusack is back to voice her. There's a tablet called Lilypad that Bonnie gets as a gift. This is all in the trailer, but Conan O'Brien apparently voices a new character named Smarty Pants. And according to Stanton himself, they're not fighting a villain. They're reckoning with the fact that kids are moving on from toys to tech. So we'll see how they handle that. I mean, the last two made over $1 billion worldwide, so this thing is just going to rake in money, but we'll see what happens. And then again, moving on, we've got The Death of Robin Hood. We just watched the trailer. This one's a much smaller film, only tracking somewhere between $8 and $13 million. But great strategy for them. Props to them for picking this weekend to release it because it is smart counter programming for Toy Story. A couple other films to follow this weekend. Leviticus is a low-budget horror. We've had a string of those lately. Maybe this one can be successful too. And then we've got Girls Like Girls, which is a coming-of-age drama from Focus Features. That'll do it for this week's Movie Reset. Do me a huge solid and hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with the movies. And let me know in the comments, are you guys excited for Toy Story 5 or is that not your cup of tea? I want to know what you think. I'll be back next week to break down all the numbers. Until then, see y'all at the movies.
What do people here, what do you all think of Toy Story? What's the panel's view? I think it's kind of split.
Let's refresh this page because I had edited the playlist.
You are one of the biggest Disney fans I know, and you saw an early screening of Toy Story 5, and you sent me a message. This movie's going to make $1 billion. I want to know how you know that, and I'll say, based on clips that have come out, they've really got me interested. It's now the classic toys versus something every parent deals with now, screens. Tell me about Toy Story 5, and I want to hear your review.
Okay, well, let me just speak to the billion. Inside Out 2, a mediocre movie, made $1 billion. Zootopia 2, good but mediocre, made $1 billion. Toy Story 5, the gang is back. Pixar is back and is going to make $1 billion because it is ostensibly so much better than the other two. There are caveats, though. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But the story-wise, it takes place 2 years after Woody left to join Bo Peep out in the wilderness. That's Toy Story 4, which in case most of you haven't seen it.
So Jesse is now the leader of the toys, of the Bonnie's toys, and Buzz is her deputy. Now, Bonnie is just like Andy. She loved to play with toys. She has all these fantasies about playing with toys, but the problem is she doesn't have any friends. It's hard for her to make friends because she plays with toys, and so she's part of this dance club, this dance class, and the girls there have pads. In fact, they can talk to each other on these little pads. They can set up play dates on these little pads and sleepovers. And so Bonnie's parents, against their better judgment, decide that they're going to buy Bonnie a pad. And the pad is named Lily, and like the other toys, only wants the best for Bonnie. And so she sets up all the social media and gets her connected with the other girls. And then she goes to a sleepover, only to find out that Bonnie is a little immature for the little girls because she still plays with dolls. And that kind of is what sets the foundation of this story. Now it's up to Jesse to... Jesse sees Lily Pad as evil. She sees all tech as evil. And Bonnie is experiencing that, the online bullying and all that stuff from the other kids. And so now Jesse goes out to save the day. There's a girl who lives out in the country. She likes horses, and she's in the same position as Bonnie. She doesn't have a lot of friends, and she too likes to play with toys, with horses and things like that. And Jesse thinks it'd be a great idea to connect those two, but Lily says no. She needs to get back with her dance friends, and so that's the main conflict of this movie. So let me address things that are going to come up in the conversation. Toy Story 1 through 3 is Andy's story. Andy is a boy. We all love Andy. We all love the Andy story. We think it's perfect. Toy Story 4 and 5, this is Bonnie's story. So you're taking the girl perspective here. That's why Jesse is the lead. And that's why, as a conversation I had with Christian Toto, Buzz is a bit emasculated in this one. Buzz has a real, has it in for Jesse, and kind of his thing throughout the whole movie is he wants to propose to her, and so he's trying to get on her good side, and Jesse just wants to do her own thing. And the other thing here is, yes, this is a movie about Bonnie with girls, but there are a lot of boy things in this movie. This movie is for boys and girls, and there's enough for both to make this interesting. The opening of the movie is on an island, a deserted island, and there is a shipping container crashed on the island with the doors open. And strewn about this shipping container are about 100 commemorative Buzz Lightyear toys. And these toys activate themselves, and they look in the sky and say, "Star Command." And so the toys here, their mission is to once again reunite with Star Command. And look, this was a smart move, because like the opening of Toy Story 2, and I think Toy Story 3 was somewhat this. No, Toy Story 2. There was this Zurg adventure, and Pixar just really nailed what this relationship between Buzz and Zurg was like, and the opening of Toy Story 5 is just that. This is a Buzz Lightyear adventure going on. And I remember watching this opening saying, oh my God, this is a Toy Story movie. I love this. And look, I'm just going to say it. I think if you're predisposed to really love Toy Story 1 through 3, I don't think you're going to have as much fun as I had for this one, because you're going to walk in and you're just going to pick the thing apart. But if you have kids and you bring your kids to see this one, you are going to kind of fall in love with this movie as much as your kids will. The other thing is, to me, this is a return to Pixar storytelling. Something we haven't seen in Pixar in a very long time, not since a certain person left. And the thing about this, and this is classic Pixar, and it happens throughout the entire movie. They set up a plan, they outline the plan, and when they execute the plan, everything goes wrong. And it gets to the point where you wonder, how the hell are they going to get out of this? And then they find a great way to get out of it. And that's this movie over and over again. It's this constant questioning of what's going to happen next. How are they going to get out of this? How are they going to finally reunite? How's Bonnie going to be? There's an ending. The ending you think takes place about a half an hour before it actually ends, because you think it's wrapping itself up way too neatly, and then it just takes this twist.
Don't say anything.
I won't say anything. Classic, but it's classic Pixar. The other thing is because if you know classic Pixar, you know when this ending is about to happen, that it's like this ending's really not going to happen because it's wrapping itself up way too neatly. The other thing is, I don't know, when you watch the credits, guess who gets fourth billing on the credits?
I don't know.
Conan O'Brien gets fourth billing. He plays a potty toy, an electronic toy, a tech that Jesse hates, that teaches kids how to be potty trained. And oh my God! So not only is he Conan O'Brien in this movie, but he has the best lines. Why? Because Conan O'Brien gets the lion's share of all these potty and pee jokes throughout the entire movie. And I'm like, oh, Pixar is back. And the feeling I get is, this may be an outlier, and that the upcoming movies from Pixar will probably suck. But at least we got one good one that took seriously the style of storytelling, the look, the feel of the movie. I mean, oh my God, I wish Pixar would. I wish from now on Pixar movies were like this, but I feel like they're not.
So I have several questions.
Yeah.
One, is it a return to form for Pixar?
It is a return to form, but again, look, Andrew Stanton is the director of this. The other Pixar movies aren't directed by Andrew Stanton.
And the other thing is,
how
do they handle the? You mentioned some of it, and you don't have to go into big detail. Mm-hmm. We'll do that Friday. But what about the lily pad? Like, how do they handle kids stuck on screen?
Yeah, no, I mean, it handles it very honestly. The dangers of the screens. The fact that kids, I mean, there's plenty of scenes of kids just mesmerized to these screens. Also, thinking that, if we just connect our kids through screens instead of in person, that's just as good as being in person. And over and over again, Jesse says, no, you need to have, they need to be physically together. They can't be on screens.
So there's a good
that message is hammered home throughout the entire film.
Do you think this will actually get parents to rethink their relationship with screens and tech as it relates to their kids?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think it questions it enough to say, one, you should be playing with your toys and not playing games on screens, and two, you should be actually with people, with other kids your age.
My last question before we go, what makes you think this is gonna make $1 billion? You were so adamant.
Well, I just mentioned it up front. If Inside Out 2 and Zootopia 2 can make $1 billion easily, this is ostensibly a far better movie than those two. And again, it's one, repeat value. You can see this movie over and over again, and two, you're bringing your kids to it, and your kids will want to see this over and over again, and that just means more ticket sales, more and more ticket sales.
So I don't even need to ask. You recommend it?
I recommend it. 8.5.
All right.
And by the way, the Taylor Swift song is completely unmemorable.
But there's a reason they put that in.
Yeah, because she's Taylor Swift.
Well, not just that. They want they want her to sing it at the Oscars. Yeah. She will get Best Song nominee.
Yeah, definitely.
You heard it here.
Yeah, and then also, they added a new song to the live action Moana for the exact same reason.
Movies, film set.
let's talk about Toy Story 5. A movie that I'll say I don't think needed to be made. I think this film with Lily Pad being the new toy to rival the other toys, this might have been better as a short film, having now seen it. And I'll say I disagree with your review, Alan. You gave it a rave review. You said it was going to make $1 billion, and I half agree with you. I do think it'll make $1 billion because worse animated films have made $1 billion. Zootopia 2, other films I think are just lesser movies. I just think this is unnecessary. I feel like the fact that Woody was kind of sidelined as like a side character in this. I didn't feel the emotional weight like others who've seen the film. So I'm just countering what you've said. While I agree it's going to make $1 billion, I was not really into it. The best part of the movie is Lily, the lily pad, who, when, the character goes lost at a certain point, out of her own shame that she made Bonnie feel bad over some bullying that happened over the pond or whatever the
over tech, yeah,
over tech, right? I like the idea of the toys dealing with how do they deal now and compete with tech. People don't. The opening of the movie, I was there.
Yeah.
When they're looking at all the homes and it's like it's happening everywhere. Toys, kids don't play with toys. And this is true in the toy business. The business itself, sales, I mean, you look at sales of toys, it's all about pads and video games. That's it. That's what kids deal with. They're not into as much of the tactile toys. But I'll say I wasn't as blown away as you were with the. I like the themes, but I feel like it's so thin. Did it need to be an hour and 42 minutes? I felt like it would have made a great 10-minute, 20-minute short. They used to do shorts.
Mm-hmm.
These little shorts with these characters.
Even with the Toy Story characters, they made.
Yeah, they made shorts. I wasn't as blown away as you were. We haven't gotten into spoilers yet. I'm not sure how much people care, but again, I was waiting for the movie to get going. It never got going for me. Now, I have to admit, I did see a 3:00 show because I had to see another movie, and it was a crowd of mostly kids. Mm-hmm. There were kids and parents, which is the audience.
And how did they respond to the movie?
They loved it and clapped at the end.
Yeah.
They loved it. They clapped at the end.
Okay.
I could hear little kids crying and talking here and there, but that's what I'd show.
There were kids crying in my theater too.
It was a 3:00 show. I knew there'd be kids there, but they clapped at the end. They loved it. Lily Pad is now part of the family. I think we'll see a 6 that will complete the trilogy for Bonnie. I think that's what this will do. And, maybe we'll see further adventures with Lily Pad. I just wasn't as emotionally invested as I was in previous Toy Stories. I really think the third one was the best end. And I really wonder, like, at what point does a series of movies actually hurt the brand? I do know that there's statistics on this. Sales of previous movies in the series. So when a new movie comes out, whether it's a Toy Story 5 or name a part 3 or 4 or 5 of anything, the previous movies get a bump in sales on VOD, interest in streaming. It increases the value of the past library. But as we saw with Star Wars, people are more interested in the classic films than what's happening with this now. Let
me ask you a question about what you just said. Does Toy Story 5 ruin the first 3 movies?
I'll say this: it doesn't. It's a new story to me.
It's a continuation.
It's a new chapter.
Right. But when you compare it to the Star Wars sequels, when you compare it to things like Starfleet Academy, those ruined the originals.
Yeah.
Toy Story 5 doesn't. It's just the continuation. And I said it in my review, and I'll say it now. Look, the first 3 movies are perfect. They're great. That's Andy's story. You can take those 3 movies, box it up, and watch it over and over and over again. This one, it takes the next chapter. It goes to Bonnie, who's a girl. And now it takes it, the first 3, I would say, we discussed this before the show, but the first 3 movies is predominantly for boys. Right. There, girls like it. There are elements for girls. The second movie had Jesse's story in it, but Jesse's story was the B story. It was a boys' movie. This is decidedly a girls' movie from a girl's perspective, which to me is okay. I think it's fine to have to now shift perspectives and say, okay, how does a girl approach toys? No, she's not using Barbie toys. But you do have the whole horse thing. But for me, look, the first 3 stands on its own. Wrap it up. It's great. And I think this one is perfect for today, for girls. And there was certainly plenty of stuff in this movie for boys. That opening sequence with the Buzz Lightyears, even the Buzz and Woody story, Buzz may be a bit emasculated, but Woody certainly wasn't.
Buzz was 100% emasculated when they did the wedding.
That's that story being told from a girl's perspective.
Yes, they made Buzz Lightyear was made to be feminized in this.
Yeah,
Buzz Lightyear, the character. There were the Buzzes, which I think the Buzzes, sort of army of 50 Buzzes that somehow got, abandoned or whatever. That was my favorite part. I thought that was so funny the way that evolved. And it was the B story or even the C story in the movie. It was just a running thread, but it did have a payoff, which I love the payoff.
And I'll be honest, I got choked up. I got choked up at the Jessie story near the tree. The revelation there.
Where Jessie found out her life had meaning. Her life as a toy had meaning to her first owner.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So look,
let me make one more point. The first thing is you say that this movie did not need to be made, except that this movie, after it's all said and done, will profit Disney $500 million. So yeah, the movie needed to be made.
It did need to be
you're
made.
not going to make a short film. Look, if you have something that's going to make $500 million for your company, you make the movie, and this movie is going to do that.
Well, the one thing I'll say about it, other than the Buzz thing, and I would side with you and actually defend Buzz being feminized. It's through the lens of a girl playing with Buzz.
Yeah,
it isn't Buzz.
That's the distinction you have to make between the first 3 movies and these next 3. I honestly, it should end here. This one wrapped up very nicely. But that's the distinction you have to make. This is toy 1 through 3 is for boys, 5 is for girls, and that's fine. There's no problem with that.
And I promise you, mark my words, it's not going to end here. There will be a Toy Story 6
because Disney wants another $500 million.
There needs to be a Toy Story 6 for more money. I'll just say I was not as enthusiastic as you. I was even bored at times. There's very little action, but this is 100% for women. It's for girls, mainly because even the horses. You know who loves horses? Girls and women love horses.
I mean, what was the first 3 movies? It was Buzz Lightyear, the space toys. That was right. That was the whole point. Was Woody was being taken over, being replaced by Buzz Lightyear and Star Command. That's a very boy theme versus this one. And that's why Jessie takes the front seat in this movie. This is her movie compared to Buzz and Woody.
I'm not, it's a mild recommend from me, not over the top love, and 100% will make north of $1 billion. I think the estimates for the box office are like 150 I mean, insane. It's going to be, it'll be number one the second weekend, I believe, as well.
I mean, you just have to go with the reaction of the kids in your audience.
Yep.
That right there is the reason why this movie will succeed.
And guess what?
The same thing happened in my theater too.
And then guess what? They all clapped.
Mm-hmm.
All clapped. And the audience I saw it with were paying customers.
Yeah.
So
guess what? They're going to see it again.
Paid. I
They'll
also paid.
100% see it again.
Movies, film set.
Ma'am. So I don't have a cowboy hat, but I've got a Elm Street Part 2 Freddy fedora, which is currently available in my Etsy store. Shameless plug. But anyway, Toy Story 5. When they announced this, and once again, apologies for the nasally and the glassy eyes, the sinus infection is in full swing. I had a great sleep last night, all but 1 minute. So yeah, when they announced Toy Story 5, I didn't know how to feel. It was like when they announced Toy Story 4. I thought everything had wrapped up perfectly with Toy Story 3. Like Tarantino says, he doesn't watch Toy Story 4. For him, it's the perfect trilogy. 1, 2, and 3. 4 doesn't exist. But when 4 came out, I humored it. I actually really liked it. Did it need to exist? Not really. But somehow, they just managed to do a good job. And then when 5 was announced, I was the exact same. But what really hooked me in and what gave me a bit of pause and what interested me was the fact that they were touching on something that is like a real world issue at the moment. And that is kids with tablets, screen time, kids on screens, stuff like that, no longer playing with toys. I'm like, this could be really interesting. But also, how are they going to bring Woody back into the fold? How are they going to bring Bo back into the fold? And then you hear murmurs that this is going to be a Jesse-centric story, which I'm totally okay with. Before we get to anything, and I'm pretty sure I've shown this before, this is my original 1996 Buzz Lightyear figure with my name on a piece of tape on the bottom that I put there in 1996, and a bit of red paint from when I painted my room this burgundy red. So yeah, this is an absolute relic. And I've also got my Woody right here. This is the 2011 one. I did have the 1996 Thinkway one, but I absolutely mutilated it, trying to make the limbs smaller and make him like actually floppy. And yeah, it was an absolute mess. So I got that guy right there. But yeah, going back to Toy Story 5, like when the trailer came out, I thought, okay, this looks good. Let's humor this. Bit apprehensive. Seeing it last night, once again, they've somehow done it. Was this needed? No, like 5. I just think everything was wrapped up pretty damn well in 3 and like tugging at the heartstrings with Part 3 with that incinerator sequence, but also Andy going off to college and giving his toys to Bonnie. It's like passing the torch on, and we don't really need to see any more of that. And then in 4, Buzz, Woody part ways and Woody stays with Bo. But I think what Toy Story 5 does really well, it's probably the most raw out of all of the 5 films in the franchise, in that it touches on something that is a real world issue. Issue's probably pushing it a bit, but it's very much of the now. Kids on screens and no longer playing with toys and wanting to get that playtime back. I think also what they do really well is balancing these characters, but making this a Jesse story. We did hear that this was going to be mostly about Jesse, and I thought, okay, that's great. Give her a chance. We've seen Buzz and Woody do their thing, but also I want to see them included. And I think they all get ample screen time, but when it comes to Jesse's story along with Bullseye, I think it's great. It goes back to her old owner, her old kid, Emily, and there's a beautiful little story arc at the end with that. It doesn't exactly reinvent the wheel, and it's like, it's nothing that we haven't really seen before. But I think also with the involvement of the screens and the thread in this film, which is Lily Pad, I think it balances it well where you've got Bonnie who loves her toys but gets this lily pad and also trying to fit in with kids in her grade, in her dance class. When she goes to a sleepover, she brings her toys and she sees that the kids at the sleepover have the lily pad and they kind of think of her as a loser. So she goes and grabs her lily pad. And we've all been guilty of that, like especially when we were kids. Doing things that go against the normal, going against the grain of what we're used to and what we're all about in order to fit in. And like I said, I've been there and you've probably been there. And I like those little story beats. And my biggest concern as well was how the hell are they going to bring Woody back into it? Like, is it going to be shoehorned in? Is it going to be forced? But no, I think it was a nice, subtle little story beat. Bringing Woody back, reuniting with Buzz, reuniting with the gang, and also helping Jesse and Bullseye, who aren't exactly in the same vicinity as Woody, Buzz, the rest of the gang, but they all kind of make it work with the advantage of technology in a way where I like that it acknowledges the generations of technology. There's also this subplot of a bunch of modern day Buzz Lightyears that look like they've got Bluetooth, they have like a QR code, and a bunch of them wash up on an island when a cargo container crashes on an island. And you cut back and forth between these Buzz Lightyears trying to find quote unquote Star Command, and it all just ties together in the end. And when the film started and we see this sequence, I thought it was much like Toy Story 2, where it's that opening sequence of Buzz versus Zurg, and it turns out it's him playing a Buzz Lightyear video game. And I think also, like, when I thought about it, I'm like, with the exception of Scream 7, which wasn't really the greatest, much like the Scream franchise, there isn't a bad Toy Story film in the bunch. And I was just amazed that they somehow managed to make it work. I think, again, because they tapped into a subject that a lot of us can relate to. I mean, like, even as adults and screen time, like, I'm definitely guilty of it, but it is also part of my job. I like as well how they kind of balance that changing of the way children play. Like, it's relevant without coming across as, like, preachy or heavy-handed, where in many ways, like, the film feels like it's trying to bridge the gap between the toys like many of us grew up with and the digital world kids are growing up in today. But like good old-fashioned, using your imagination, hands-on stuff like that, instead of looking at a screen and going bloodshot in the eyes. And like, this is a stacked cast as well, man. You've even got Conan O'Brien in amongst it. And again, I think all the characters, old and new, get their time to shine. But I like as well that when they promise this is going to be a Jesse-centric story, they actually committed to it. But you also get some time with Woody and Buzz back in Bonnie's room and them trying to help Jesse and Bullseye again when she's not exactly in the same vicinity. They seemingly all make it work. Again, it's nothing really new and like not reinventing the wheel, which is fine. But I think as well, they just seemingly balanced everything for the most part pretty well. I think the end as well, there's this one little hook, one little reveal at the end that a lot of people have said was an absolute tearjerker. And yeah, like Cole and I had an absolute cry and a half. And I think, damn, you guys always know to have that one little heartfelt moment where it's like 10, 20 seconds and then it's back to goofy jokes and stuff like that. But that little pocket, I thought they handled it really well. And it wraps up Jesse's arc and her grieving for Emily. So you guys, overall, this is one of those things, once again, much like Toy Story 4, when it came to Toy Story 5, I didn't think we needed it, but like 4, it somehow just managed to make it work and add to the franchise. I was quite content with the first 3. But yeah, I think as well, just touching on the subject of what's very, very real today, just made it work, but also the great voice performances, the animation as well, man. Like, it is crazy to see how much the animation has evolved. And I saw a clip the other day, and it was comparing Sid's dog from Toy Story 1 to the cat that gets up and stretches in the antique store in Toy Story 4. Like, we've come a long way. Like, details in this film are absolutely incredible. You've got the great score once again by Randy Newman doing his thing. But I think as well, man, like, if they never made another Toy Story ever again, and fool me once, they've said that many a time, I'd be fine with it. I'd be okay with it. I think now that Jessie's had her arc wrapped up, much like Buzz, much like Woody, I think it's fine to call it a day. Go out with a bang and with stuff left in the tank, like ideas left in the tank. I think that's totally fine. And yeah, somehow they just made it work. And with that, I'm going to be giving Toy Story 5 4 Conan O'Briens out of 5. So in terms of where this one ranks for me, I think number 1 is Toy Story 2, then Toy Story 3, Toy Story 1, Toy Story 5, then Toy Story 4. I think 2 for me is like the Terminator 2 of, or Aliens of sequels. Like, it just made it work. And I'm a sucker as well for seeing beautiful little montages when Woody's getting repaired by the old man. I love all that. And then with 3 as well, like, absolute heartbreaker and a half with that incinerator sequence, stuff like that. And it's not to say that one is bad. I just think in terms of the story, it was very surface level. But yeah, guys, with that being said, drop a comment below. Let me know your thoughts once you check out Toy Story 5. Where does this one rank for you? Do you think they got too heavy-handed with the screen stuff? I definitely think they balanced it pretty well. And also, like, Bonnie's little arc as well and trying to make friends. I think that was handled quite well. And again, going back to the animation, like, seeing when Bonnie's in peril and upset, you get upset as well. It's a credit to people in front and behind the camera, in front or behind the computer. I don't know. Love you guts. And I'll catch you in the next one.
So you might have noticed there's a new Toy Story film out. This is number 5.
Toy Story 5, directed by Andrew Stanton, written by Stanton and Kenna Harris, voice cast includes returning voices Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Joan Cusack, Tony Hale, John Ratzenberger, Wallace Shawn, Blake Clark, Annie Potts, Bonnie Hunt, Christian Keanu Reeves, Ali Mackie, along with new additions Greta Lee, Conan O'Brien, Craig Robinson, Shelby Rabara, Scarlett Spears, Michelle Harris, Matty Matheson, Uncle Tom, Ernie Hudson, Alan, everybody.
Was that Uncle Tom Cobley making another appearance?
Yes. I was always surprised when somebody said I went looking it up because people don't know Uncle Tom Cobley and all anymore, but there we go. So this is the first in the Toy Story series that doesn't have any involvement from co-creator John Lasseter, who left Pixar in 2018. Randy Newman back in the score, Taylor Swift contributing. So I'm going to read you the plot synopsis before we go into the clip, and I'll then explain why I'm reading you the synopsis. Okay, so the plot synopsis goes: after Woody left Bonnie to stay with Bo Peep and helped abandoned toys find owners, Jessie becomes the leader of Bonnie's room with Buzz Lightyear as her second in command. However, a now 8-year-old Bonnie has become enamored with her new favourite plaything, a frog-like tablet named Lilypad, Greta Lee. Now Buzz must have Woody return to help them overcome Lilypad. Here's a clip.
Do you, Forky, take Karen Beverly to be your beloved bride?
Yay! I now pronounce you husband and knife. Who poisoned the maid of honor?
Bonnie, there's a package for you.
Oh, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Lilypad. Let's play.
Extinction, not again.
Bonnie's engrossed in her frog-shaped tablet.
Bonnie, screen time's over now.
Okay.
I want to talk to you, device.
Please, call me Lily.
Me and the toys have been listening.
I'm looking at you and wondering whether are you laughing or
I was quite intrigued by that, partly because I think Greta Lee is amazing.
Yeah, she is,
and she needs to come on the show if she's listening. I'm sure she's a regular listener. We'd love you to come on the show, Greta.
Yeah. Okay.
But I thought if you're going to make Toy Story 5, that's the one that you're going to make.
Okay.
The one where the kid is only interested in the tablet. So I understand where that's heading.
Okay. So, well, here's my take on it. Toy Story 1 was...
I haven't seen the film.
No, I know. So Toy Story 1 was revolutionary, changed the face of, modern animation, really did. I remember the first time we saw it, digital animation back then was like trippy. You couldn't quite figure it out. Toy Story 2, astonishingly, I think was actually even better. I mean, and we know the whole story about it. It was originally going to be straight for the small screen. And then Toy Story 3 basically completed the trilogy. It was this absolutely wonderful, sentimental, heartbreaking conclusion and the perfect trilogy. And we said at the time, it's like the before movies. It is perfect in and of itself. Then Toy Story 4. Now, Toy Story 4 felt unnecessary, but it did, I think, still have some of the magic of the original trilogy. I think it didn't add to the trilogy, but it didn't detract from it either. And Tom Hanks had said, okay, that's it. We're done now. So this, for me, is the first proper Toy Story disappointment. Now, I should say we're recording this on Tuesday, so I have no idea what the reviews for the film are, because the reviews, I think, are embargoed until the end of today.
We're only interested in your review.
No, I know.
Take no notice of anyone else.
I know, but I'm just saying, so I don't know, this is kind of slightly sort of shouting in the views. Usually you've got some sense of how reactions to films have been, but this is the first time I found myself, and I saw it in the cinema in the West End, and I was right at the back, so I was completely away from everybody else because I wanted to watch it on my own. This is the first time that I found myself sitting in a cinema in the company of Woody and Buzz and Jessie and the gang, and finding myself bored, baffled, and occasionally a bit cross. The problems are manifold, and whenever I say that, I always think of Benny Hill, but a woman's needs are manifold.
Soon she married Ted.
But anyway, let's not get distracted by that. So, firstly, the plot. The reason I read you the plot synopsis is because the plot is all over the place, right? Toy Story 1 was simplicity itself. When kids leave the room, toys come to life. Toy Story 2 is a bit more existential. They discover that they're part of a production line. There's the whole thing about, it's not just, it's almost like David and AI. And then Toy Story 3 is the end of Winnie the Pooh. It's the whole thing about the time to put away childish things. And you and I, when we reviewed it, when we were talking about it, we were almost in tears. I mean, we were almost unable to broadcast.
But it was particularly listeners' reactions and the emails that they sent in about how they had responded.
Yes, but we responded because we felt the same way. Okay. Toy Story 4, I can't remember much of the plot. I think some of it took place in a fairground and a lot of it was outdoors, but I don't really remember much of the plot. Do you?
No, I don't think I even saw it.
Oh, okay, fine. This time, the narrative is simultaneously too complicated and too simplistic, okay? The simplistic thing is, it's the battle between old toys and new tech, flagged up by the arrival of Lilypad. And hey, guess what? Spending time alone on your screen can make you lonely. Which is like, okay, but in the first Toy Story, the arrival of a flashy new toy was already. Buzz turns up. You've got old style Woody and then Buzz turns up. And then we went through all of that. And short of saying that kids need to put away their screens and use their imaginations more, it's fine. This doesn't really have anything new to add. Plus, it really hedges its bets. I mean, when you're talking about, it's the thing about, obviously they've got to do new tech. Look at the way it plays out. I mean, it's, it is very much a kind of hey, we're all a bit, aren't we? We're all playing for the team. So that's the simple bit. The complex bit is the narrative. I was making notes during it, okay? Basically, my version of the plot goes, right? Starts with, there's an entire army of Buzz toys washed up on a desert island or something. They've now got enhanced capability. See Toy Story 2. Then it goes to the child who's got Jessie and the horse but no friends, and gets a Lilypad to make friends, but the friends then laugh at her for having toys, which she throws out, which then, through a really convoluted plot twist, end up being delivered to an old address from the past where this other child lives, who's the only other child who still plays with the toys but also has a Lilypad, and with whom Jessie should clearly be united but isn't. And then there's another strand about Woody being accidentally called back due to a conversation on a walkie-talkie which he mishears, and then Jessie needs him as a deputy, but she doesn't. And then they're on a farm, and then there's a bit with a horse and a pig, and then there's some stuff about Buzz wanting to marry Jessie, but being unable to tell her that that's what he wants to do. And then there's some stuff about Jessie's previous owner growing up, but still loving Jessie. And then there's some stuff about forgetting, and then there's some stuff about remembering, and then there's some stuff about all the toys, all the Lilypad being in a truck, and then they have to chase the truck, and then it turns out that, you remember the whole thing in the first Toy Story, that's not flying, that's falling with style, right? Mm-hmm. By the time you get to Toy Story 5, oh no, they fly. They fly. And in fact, if there is anything that is symbolic of what's gone wrong, it's that in the first film, that's not flying, that's falling with style. And in the fifth film, no, they're just flying, which incidentally makes no sense. And the last bit is particularly significant because if you throw away the magic, if you throw away the thing which made the first one, which was the idea is so simple, the idea is so straightforward, and the magic is he's flying with falling, and then you go, no, we're updating. You go, okay, fine, I'm sorry. I'm just checked out. Now, there are individual moments which work. Of course there are. Because when you have a voice cast this good, and when you have characters that are this resilient, and that we've spent 4 movies with, and we've got so much emotionally invested in, of course things are going to work. But the things that made me emotionally moved were, I mean, look, the sight of a young child being cyberbullied is moving. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a psychopath not to be moved by that. But that is not enough. And whereas the original Toy Story movies is moving. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a psychopath not to be moved by that. But that is not enough. And whereas the original Toy Story movies, of course, things are going to work. But the things that made me emotionally moved were, I mean, look, the sight of a young child being cyberbullied is moving. You don't have to be a psychopath not to be moved by that. But that is not enough. And whereas the original Toy Story movies, they had this kind of heart and soul and this simple idea, this felt very much to me like a film from the director of John Carter of Mars. It's kind of weirdly aimless and bloated. And all these numerous warring elements, it's like they're all sort of struggling for their moment in the sun, but none of them are cohering. It's like somebody just threw a whole bunch of stuff at a whiteboard and said, let's see where any of that lands. And worse, the moments that do work, the moments that made me moved and you know, start to well up, felt manipulative, and it never felt manipulative before. So the cast is bigger, the canvas is bigger, everything is bigger, yet somehow its ambition, its emotional ambition feels much smaller. I mean, not small in a kind of intimate way, but small in a kind of scant rewards way. And honestly, I lost patience with it somewhere around about the midway mark. And then when I lost patience with it, I then became overwhelmed by this sense of sadness about the loss of innocence with the Toy Story movies, which is that it was almost like I was growing up in real time, that I was sitting in a cinema with these characters that I love, that have meant so much to me over the course of the time that we've done this show. And for the first time ever, I was like, come on.
So you were feeling all Toy Story 3 about Toy Story 5?
I was feeling all Toy Story 3 about Toy Story 5. And it was, you know, I mean, what I wanted to be was I wanted to be a young kid gurgling at the you know, I wanted to be the kid sitting in the chair unable to sit still because they're so excited to know what happens next. And in fact, I was the old guy from Up going bah and slamming the door in the film's face. Now, I confess, I know that I can do this, that I can just go, okay, fine, no, I've lost it now, I've lost patience. And I am sure that next week the film will do fantastically well and we will get loads of emails from people saying that they went and they had a great time, and I'm sure that's the case. I really wanted to love it, and I did not care for it at all. And in fact, I got quite cross with it quite quickly.
I wonder if in future years, kids will watch, or just young people will watch this film and go, wow, so back in the day, under 16s could watch this stuff? Because that's the big story this week when we're talking about the government plans to ban social media for the under 16s.
Yeah.
And I've only heard that clip, and Greta Lee's character was obviously annoying when was intended to be annoying. And then you mentioned the cyberbullying.
Well, it's cyberbullying is she's got a lily pad and they can message each other. So I don't know whether that counts as social media, but I'm wondering if that's exactly the kind of thing that the government are trying to, as they have done in Australia, to say, no, you can't do that. Well, I think...
And that the tech companies need to make sure that that doesn't happen. So this is actually quite a newsy film.
I think that it's completely coincidental that these two things are collide. And I also think that what the film has to say about, because it's like, is it online? I mean, you know, the whole thing about powering up and powering, it just, none of it makes any sense. None of its connectivity makes any sense at all, even to a Luddite like me. But it's like, you know, the lily pad thing in which they're messaging, so they're friends sitting together, but they're messaging each other on the thing. Does that count as social media? I
Probably does.
Probably does.
So yeah. I wonder if this
ban this filth.
I wonder if it's going to be one of those. Does the film add to the people who say under 16s shouldn't be able to watch it, or not?
No. Can I be honest with you? I don't think it adds anything to any debates at all. I think it is literally a product. I think it is a product, and I don't think it has anything profound to say. And I hate the fact that I'm saying that about a Toy Story film.
It would be interesting to know, in the same way as we had a Disclosure Day email from someone who'd gone with a 9-year-old. Be interested to know if you go and see Toy Story 5 with a 9-year-old or similar.
Yeah, and I'm sure
to find out, you know, what they thought of it and whether their reaction was any different.
I'm sure that we will get emails from people saying, and as I said, I am at least aware of this. I am aware that I am the old guy from Up, but I can't lie to you. I really didn't like it.
Child 1, who has 2 kids of his own, is flying back into the country this weekend so that he and I can go and see Gorillas.
Oh, right.
And they're playing at the Tottenham Stadium, which would be a great thing. And Toy Story 1, I went to see, as I've mentioned before, because it was a PG, and I thought because child one was like 4.
Yeah.
I was thinking, can he go and see a PG? You know, why is it a PG? So I'm thinking that's how long these films are about, because the maths is one thing, and then you equate it to where you are in real time.
Absolutely.
You're thinking, these have been with us forever.
When the first Toy Story movie came out, and I was shown, just before it came out, we were shown a sort of some bits of it. And I remember us all sitting there going, what is this? That's not a three-dimensional, like the CG was so well done that it was like, I can't quite figure out what I'm watching. It, like I said, it felt slightly hallucinatory. And then of course you see the film, and the genius of the film is that the technology is not what's important. The genius of Toy Story is that it's the characters that are important. And that is true of 1, 2, and 3. It's less true of 4, and it's absolutely not true of 5.
Toy Story 5. It's the 5th movie in the Toy Story franchise, and I think it's an improvement on Toy Story 4. See what Alonzo thinks. We had a good time seeing this together, but come hang out, subscribe. Yeah, we are in summer movie season. We had Disclosure Day last week. We have Toy Story 5 this week. We got The Odyssey coming in a few weeks. So come subscribe and hang out with us, because we are here for you. Alonzo, what happens in Toy Story 5?
Me and the toys have been working all summer to try and get Bonnie to make friends.
Yeah.
But then you had to ruin
Got
it.
it.
You're not even listening to me.
I'm always listening. See?
Well, you know, Bonnie is still having a grand old time with all of the toys that she inherited from Andy. But even though she is still, you know, rollicking around with Jessie and Buzz and all of our favorites from movies past, she's still a little awkward about making friends. A couple of kids moved in across the street, but she's still been reticent about reaching out to them and inviting them over. And so Jessie, trying to kind of broker some new friends for Bonnie, peeks in their window and sees that they are just glued to screens. And all of their neglected toys in the yard are like, oh, haven't you heard? The age of the toy is over. It's all about the screens now. It's all about the devices. You will never get your child's full attention again. And Jessie's like, nah, not our Bonnie. Never. No. But wouldn't you know it, Bonnie's parents bring home Lily Pad, voiced by Greta Lee, a device, and she is sucked in, and she is in chat groups with the mean girls in her dance class, and she is playing games online, and the other toys are starting to feel a little bit ignored. And, you know, Jessie is trying to fix the situation. She is always a fixer. And so she's trying to broker new friendships for Bonnie, but Lily Pad makes that increasingly difficult. Yes, we left Woody back with the other lost toys at the end of 4, but they figure out a way to come back into this. Rest assured, Tom Hanks is back. And ultimately we get this kind of sprawling narrative where we're in various places following various characters. But the through line really is like, can Bonnie make some real friends that doesn't involve looking at screens all day? And it's, you know, for a series that is 30 plus years old, I applaud the fact that they are keeping it contemporary and they are addressing how children play now and what children do with their off time and how they imagine or how they don't imagine. And obviously, this movie is never going to come out 100% against screens because, you know, that Disney Emoji Plus in my iPhone will not stand for that. Nonetheless, I think they are kind of making the case of, you know, maybe turn them off occasionally and play with your toys and imagine things and you know, use your brain. For me, the Toy Story series peaked with 3. Like 3 is so sublime and heartbreaking and wonderful. And everything since then has been fine. You know, I liken it to, it's an ongoing TV series. And the best season already happened. But the new seasons aren't embarrassing. They aren't dragging it down. They aren't a stain on the reputation. So if you go in knowing that this is going to be like after the apex of the Toy Story series and just are still there for the delights that it offers, the delights are there. From the returning cast members to the new folks, you've got Greta Lee, you've got Conan O'Brien and Craig Robinson. There is still charm here. There is still insight about these characters, and these toys are characters, and they have feelings and regrets and pasts and longings and all that stuff that the movie still takes very seriously. It also cares about the kids and how they choose to play and what their feelings are about their toys and about themselves. So I enjoyed this quite a bit. It is not as great as the earlier Toy Story movies have been. That's a crazily high bar, but it, I think, is, as part of an ongoing series, a perfectly fine entry.
Yeah, it could have ended at 3, but then 4 gave us Forky.
Yes, we did get that.
Woefully little Forky in Toy Story 5.
I would have liked more Forky. I always want more Forky.
Always more. So that is the thing. But Andrew Stanton is back as the director here. I think that makes a lot of the difference because it kind of finds that Pixar sweet spot of consistent laughs, but also really in-depth emotions
Some
and
haymakers.
well-drawn characters, and it does really work for everyone because either you are a kid and you have had screens in your life from the get-go, or you are the parent of a kid and you have the constant struggle of how much screen time is enough, how much is too much. They never say the word COVID in this movie anywhere, but COVID's a huge reason that so many kids became so reliant on screens because it was their lifeline. I mean, when
School
Nick was in the middle of 4th grade to the middle of 5th grade when COVID hit. And so the only way you could see people or have any kind of connection was, playing online or just having, school was online. And so they never say that, but that's part of the good and the bad of screens is that you need them for connection, for communication. But then there is, the addictive quality of it. I fight with my kid all the time about screens. I do. And it's the only leverage that, it's the only leverage I've ever had with him is like, we're taking your phone away. And so I think, which does not work, by the way. But it's like, I relate to this so much. Good.
But there's also, I think, implicit messaging here that parents need to be more mindful about what their kids are doing and how they're spending their time and who they're talking to and all that stuff. Not in a like creepy To Catch a Predator way, but just in other ways that have to do with their emotional well-being.
Right, because it is so addictive and it is so immediate. And, when you are, is she 10, Bonnie?
8?
Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
She's a very young 10, if she is 10. And so I feel like her emotions are even, I don't know, squishy or softer, gentler, more tender. And so the fact that this movie is all about the need to touch grass, as the kids say, but also does not demonize screens entirely is a tricky line to walk and still be a movie with a point of view while also being kind of wishy-washy on the whole issue of its central premise. It's hard to do that, and they do that,
I think they pull it off.
They kind of both sides it. They both sides screens.
They do, and which is fair because I think again it's like I know this argument has been ruined by the AI assholes, but screens are a tool, and you can use them well or you can use them badly. And I think that it would feel almost reactionary for the movie to be like, smash them all, but at the same time, I think it's like, hey, remember these dolls? You came up with fun things from the do. You can still keep doing that,
Yeah. And this really is Joan Cusack's movie.
Yes. Jessie really takes the spotlight here.
She's so good in it. I mean, you do you got Buzz, you got Woody. I really like what they do with Woody, how he is who we knew him to be, but he's changed a bit, and they have some fun with that. Yeah, they have some fun with that. Structurally, it took a little bit for me to get into this because there is a whole separate subplot involving Buzz Lightyear.
Yes.
And it's like bouncing back and forth between this little girl and her desire to make friends and how does Jessie facilitate that. But there's also like a Buzz Lightyear thing going, and eventually those two converge. And it took me a while to get into the rhythm of it. I think that feels less assured than when it is just about the A story and what's happening with this little girl and with her parents and with the kids. The whole mean girl thing is very real. And so they address that in ways that are realistic and convincing. But that whole secondary thing that they keep going back to, the bouncing back and forth, was never as compelling for me. So.
It's not as compelling plot wise, but I think they find enough gags in that it kept me interested. Like when they would cut back to the Buzz Lightyear thing, it wasn't I was necessarily engrossed in the story, but I was like, oh, this is what else do we got? What jokes are they going to pull out of this? And they always had a couple of good ones. And so to me, it wasn't a distraction. I was okay with it.
Yeah, Greta Lee is great as Lily Pad. They must be selling actual Lily Pads, Disney, right? Because they're cute. They're like a good early first tablet for a kid. They must be selling that, right, as a toy?
I mean, it seems like they'd be leaving money on the table if they weren't, but who knows?
Right. Some of them are shaped like ladybugs,
Yeah,
bumblebees.
I wonder what the marketing discussions were like. I mean, is she the villain technically, or do we, so like, I don't know. I'll have to look online and see if you can buy one.
But she has expressive eyes and she can smile or frown. Yeah. So Greta Lee is great at being, as we saw on the morning show, like kind of coolly diabolical, like can be charismatic. Yeah, right. Can be charismatic, can be charming, and can turn it on when necessary, but like, is not trustworthy and will cut you if she has to. And so I feel like this is a good extension of that kind of Greta Lee character. And so she gets a lot to do here. I love the Conan O'Brien character. Yes. And that is a fascinating kind of middle ground between these analog old fashioned toys and the screen and what those new characters represent. So funny, like the best lines and the best bits and that goofy kind of sense of humor of like trying really hard. And then the details on the Conan O'Brien character are amazing. Like, and how it looks like a thing that is just a block, but there is a whole lot more expression to it and a whole lot more surprises to it. I don't want to give it away. I will say I've never actually seen that thing that he is. I'm not sure how real that is.
I know something like that exists. I'm aware. I think so. In my travels, I believe I've known of the existence of such a thing. But I mean, think about it. Like Woody and Jesse are characters from like a 50s TV show, right? Within this universe. And the first Toy Story came out 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago. So the idea that we can now have nostalgia for toys that are tech, that some version of tech has been around for so long that there's the old ones and the new ones. I thought that's all played with in a really fun way.
Yeah. And, of course, the animation's always beautiful and tactile and things like the drawer where some of the toys are being stored, like there's the wear on the handle and like you can kind of feel the clunky heaviness of that drawer as she's pulling it out, things like that. The details you take for granted in Pixar. Absolutely.
No, there are certain shots where like there's a part toward the end where a school bus is pulling up and I thought, oh, have we switched to live action? Like, oh no, it's just fucking Pixar. Like, can do photorealism so well. It fooled my eye,
Yeah. Anyway, I enjoyed it a lot. The Taylor Swift song over the credits is fun and a piece with what we've just seen. I guess it's number one, like it's her 15th number one. Anyway, that goes to debut at number one. Anyway, I'm going to say for Toy Story 5, I will say like an 8. I had a really good time.
Yeah, I'm an 8.8. I think, again, are we dealing with diminishing returns in the Toy Story series? Kind of. I agree with you. This is better than 4, although I liked 4 also. But yeah, I think if you let go of the fact that you're never going to see a Toy Story movie as good as 2 or 3, there's still a lot to have fun with here and let yourself.
Great. Toy Story 5 is in theaters this weekend. Are you going to see it? Let us know.
Oh, it did.
What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Jeremy coming to you with another video, and today we're talking about Toy Story 5. Man, oh man, where do I start with this one? I'm a huge fan of the Toy Story films, at least 1, 2, and 3. I think they're perfect movies.
You're probably not gonna like it. This guy's one of the worsters. He's one of the worsters.
Movies, there's not a better trilogy out there outside of Lord of the Rings than the Toy Story trilogy. It truly is phenomenal. I don't really hate Toy Story 4 like a lot of the internet does. I don't really remember it though. I remember enjoying it when I watched it, but I never cared to go back to it. And I've watched all Toy Story movies multiple times. I never revisited Toy Story 4. I never really cared to. And as time has passed, I've really become just disconnected with it, and I don't really remember it. However, getting to Toy Story 5, I thought the trailers were very good, and I was really excited to see this movie from that perspective. I was like, oh, okay. So we knew this was going to be Jesse's story. That didn't really bother me on the surface. I was like, all right, it kind of works within the story, so I'm here for it. Obviously, technology is the enemy in this movie, and I thought that was an interesting premise that you can build upon. So I was excited to see it. Well, there's a lot to go over. First of all, technology aspect. I think that there are some good moments with technology that people are going to latch onto, and rightfully so, to those specific moments as far as technology and how it's taken kids away from that personal connection and those friendships and how it's used for piling on and all of that. All of those are really, really interesting dynamics right there. 100%. Obviously, this is Jesse's story, and Jesse is essentially Woody from the first Toy Story. And the lily pad is essentially Buzz Lightyear. And it's kind of the Force Awakens from that perspective. Someone in my chat mentioned that. It's kind of the Force Awakens from that perspective, but it goes full Last Jedi with Woody and Buzz. And that is the real problem of this movie. The unbelievable disrespect to Woody and Buzz. When you think of Toy Story, you think of Woody and Buzz Lightyear. They are the icons. They are the foundation. They are it. They are so disrespected in this movie that it's hard to comprehend. And I'm going to give you some specifics so you understand. And like I said in my live chat, you're probably going to think that I'm making this up because it's so ridiculous. Woody is disrespected the entire movie. He's bald. We saw that in the previews. You know, he's got a beer belly, but he's never respected. They call him the old man, the old toy. He's never looked upon as Woody, this guy that has led all of these people and taken care of so many things. He's just disrespected the entire time. And it's unreal. There's one scene in particular where Bo Peep gets into a car with Woody, and she specifically says, "Move over, Woody, I'll drive." It's just little moments like that. If you remember in Toy Story 2, there was a moment with Buzz and the other Buzz. I think it was the other Buzz. And he basically was like, "Who is this?" And Buzz kind of whispers like a certain word to him, like, "Hey, that's a guy you respect." And they respect Woody. That's Jesse in this movie. Woody is the Woody that you know and love is nowhere to be found from the perspective of this movie. Not at all. Buzz Lightyear is completely in love with Jesse, and I can't believe I'm saying this about a Toy Story movie, but Buzz Lightyear is cucked. He's a complete cuck in this movie. It's pathetic. You would think if Woody's not there, Buzz would be in charge, and Buzz has literally no authority whatsoever other than whatever Jesse needs, whatever Jesse wants. I'm here. She's in charge. She's spouting out orders, all of that. Buzz is nothing in this movie. He's absolutely nothing. And to put this in full context, what I'm about to say, I'm not making this up. There's a scene towards the end of the movie where Buzz and Jesse kiss. And Buzz Lightyear's his leg goes backwards up in the air. That happened. Buzz Lightyear, his leg goes up when they kiss. There's a scene where they are getting married. Jesse is standing at the altar and Buzz Lightyear is walking down the aisle. I'm not making this up. It's unbelievable. The amount of disrespect. Having Woody and Buzz riding girl toys in this rescue scene towards the end. I can't believe all of the crazy little things that are in this movie that are just so disrespectful towards Woody and Buzz. The two characters that built this billion-dollar iconic franchise have been Jake Skywalker. Now, you want to get into some of the human element, and honestly, there's a lot more human element in this movie than any of the other three Toy Story movies. And at times, you're almost like, is this just going to be called Human Story or Agenda Story? Because there's more focus on humans than there is toys. And you want to, like, if we're going to talk about something, there's a human character, there's a girl that's introduced. Her name was Blaze, I believe. And this family, this young girl is part of this family that lives on the ranch that Jesse used to live on with Emily. And there's a black family that now lives on that ranch. Okay? Young black girl is the central focus of this family. They're on a ranch. They have horses. It's all horse themed. But the dad of the ranch, he's only seen on a computer on Zoom calls for technology purposes. The dad of the family that lives on the ranch with horses is a tech bro. So, I mean, I've only seen the movie once, but that would only make you believe that, I guess, the wife is the cowboy of the family. Because why isn't the dad the cowboy of the fucking family? Diversity, I guess. So little things like that are all sprinkled through this, but I have to make it clear. I think I have a very unpopular opinion on this movie. And I mean, like right now, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 94%. The popcorn meter has not, popped up yet. I gave my review over on Critic List and I gave it a 25%. Now, more reviews have come in because I did a live stream talking about this. And currently on Critic List is down to a 57%. It was, I believe, up in the 70s, but now people are starting to review it now. But yeah, like I know, like some people are getting at 5s and 0s. This is all after I talked about it on a live stream. But most of these reviews, this is where it was: 95%, 63, 95, 95, 88, 60, 60, 90. Those were all the reviews before I put my 25%. And there's Krista, she gave it 55. So
none of those reviews are professional. None of them are professional. None can really be trusted. They're just opinions. Really.
I don't know, man. I'm not sure how this is going to play in the long run here. What I do believe is that Toy Story 5 will be a $1 billion movie. 100%. A $1 billion franchise built from Woody and Buzz Lightyear, and they were both completely disrespected and destroyed in this movie. There is no respect for either one of these iconic characters. I cannot believe what I saw. And this is typical Disney. And it's so weird because I've enjoyed so much shit lately. I've enjoyed a lot of movies this year. I've enjoyed a lot of TV shows. I'm looking forward to other things that are, listen, I know the internet is all like anti-Odyssey. I'm still looking forward to the fucking Odyssey. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I really don't. I'm looking forward to Dune 3. Spider-Man looks like it's going to shatter records. I'm loving Dutton Ranch right now. Project Hail Mary, Obsession, Backrooms. There's just so many things that have been out this past year. One Piece, Season 2. There's so many things. And for them to go in this direction right now is just mind-numbing to me. And I think a lot of people are not going to see a lot of the things that I noticed. But this is one of the worst. Like, this is Last Jedi and Force Awakens combined in how they pulled this off. And it is just it's a blatant disrespect for these characters. And here is the person that that wrote the movie, Kenna Harris. Kenna Harris. This is the person that did the story right here. So make of that what you will. I don't know much about this person, but yeah, that's the person that's behind this story, and it seems like a lot of people are liking it, and I hated almost every single bit of it. So you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for checking out this video. Let me know in the comments if you've seen it. I'm interested what the perspective is going to be. I'm interested how unpopular my opinion on this is. I know Fake Wizard shares my opinion because I saw his tweet right after I got out of the movie. But a lot of people seem to be really liking this movie so far, and I'm very, very interested to see if that continues or not, because this was so disrespectful with Buzz and Woody that it's hard to process. You guys have a great day. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and we will talk to you later.
Well, there you had it. There you had it. They're going to say it's straight from Canada. I think they're going a little bit too far. They're going too far. Oh, yeah. Hell? There you are. Super Bowl is going to. I will. I will. So, yeah. You go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments. You know, I think Toy Story 5 has mixed reviews at best. So, make that of it what you will. I liked it. Next movie I'm going to see is Super Bowl. Reviews on that will be mostly hated because of the perceived, predicted wokeness that they say since the movie. Yeah, so. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Mikey here. like you do Luffy out.